Hi, this is Word of the Horde, that famous podcast. I'm Dan. Joining me as always is Chris. These are time capsule discussions from the year 2020, where we discuss all the events that went on and then we go off talking about random stuff. So this is basically just conversation between two friends that I'm editing and putting up as a podcast. That is what you are getting. That's what you're listening to. So thank you for listening, I guess.
A little tiny bit off topic, but like just in Elite Dangerous, they've got these generation ships that they sent out at the beginning before man kind of learned how to get out of our solar system.
Right.
And so they sent these generation ships out that people just lived on the ship basically, and they would have their children and carry on, and their whole mission was just to keep going. And
Yeah, just to get out there.
yeah, and so basically once they kind of got out there and got to the next solar system, by the time they got there, it was like 200 years later, and mankind had already beaten them there because they'd invented hyperspace travel.
Well, we were talking about this the other day, actually, weren't we? We were talking about the fact that you could travel out to stars by the time you get there, they've already caught you up.
Yeah, it's like they're already there.
It took you 1,000 years, sort of thing. That's quite cool.
Yeah. Just on Elite Dangerous, just quickly, they've announced finally giving you space legs. So eventually, at some point
next, get more compliance and shit.
At some point next year, you're gonna be able to do that. Yeah. So
what happened with the alien invasion thing? What happened with that sort of storyline?
It kind of.
I saw the beginning of it.
Yeah,
I
don't know.
People getting cut things and they found artifacts and shit.
I lost touch for a bit, and I didn't play it for a while. I haven't played it for quite a while now. But from what I gathered, it was still going on for quite a bit, and then something happened, and it sort of stopped, slowed down a bit. Like, so I don't know. Okay. I jumped back in actually about 3 months ago, something like that. And I still saw evidence of it. You know, like there were still space stations that had been attacked and stuff like. So I knew there was still some shit going on.
Something going on. That's interesting. I might have to look into some videos about it. I love that game just for the exploration of it. I mean, the space battles and stuff is cool. I like that a lot. But just for the exploration of flying around and looking at stars and going places is that's what I want. I want the ability to do that.
Yeah, it's the game that I'm glad I've got, and I'm glad I've got a base in it now. I've got not a base. I mean, you know, I've started and I know I've got a bunch of ships. I know, I've got enough modded ships and everything. You know, it's like I'm not a noob anymore. So I want to kind of in the future, you know, when this game finally is actually full and you've got like all this, you know, walking around stuff and VR is actually easy to use. You know, that's going to be the game I'll keep going back to over the years. I think as the space game.
I watched some VR the other day and I was actually impressed. I watched a guy playing Half-Life, the new Half-Life VR game.
Oh yeah, it's meant to be really good.
Some of the stuff you could do in it was really interesting. Like he was getting attacked by stuff, so he just picked up a chair and used the chair to fend him off. And I'm like, and they would grab hold of like the baddie and he was sticking him in. He was pissed about basically. It was like a 10-minute video. But yeah, it was like that sort of thing. Yeah, but he would like grab the face huggers and stick them in a bin, and then like put loads of them in a bin. He kept on grabbing them out of the air and then shoving them in this bin because they couldn't get out of the bin and stuff like that. And like he managed, like there was a drone chasing him, and he was like, "Shit, how many weapons?" He picked up a bin and managed to catch it inside the bin and put the bin upside down. I was like, that's the way to play a game. Like it was just using his mind to you know figure out ways that the engine would work for it. And I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Sounds like PewDiePie or something. He does stuff like that.
It was something like, it was just some guy playing it. He'd obviously played it a lot as well, but it was just a funny video of that sort of thing. But I'm just like, yeah, that's kind of cool. But I do think VR in the next, I think possibly not on this gen of console, but the next gen, I think it'll be mostly VR. I think, you know, like we're moving towards that sort of thing with the headsets and stuff. And I don't think you'll need a house with a big telly anymore. I think it'll just be like either like an ocular thing with Elon Musk, or it'll be some sort of headset you put on and you just watch TV, or like the Oasis or something. I think we're moving towards that. I think within our lifetime, we'll see something like that.
I think it depends how quick Elon Musk pushes it, because when he pushes something, it's going to happen. You know, that sort of ocular thing or a neural link, you know, because I was always thinking, well, TVs, you've got this TV here. What's the next stage? It'd be like them creating like a holographic TV, which is basically just a hologram. So you don't need a TV stand. You just need a projector kind of thing.
I think that was something that 10 years ago I thought was the next gen, but I think we're going to jump over that. I think we're going to skip that entirely. I think we're just going to go straight into either augmented reality, so some sort of glasses you wear that just augments reality, and so it's a hologram, but it's done visually, like with your senses in your mind, or it's just something you implant into your brain. And with Elon Musk, like say, within 10 years, if he's doing that, why keep making newer tellies? There'd be no point buying a telly if you can just put headsets already are amazing.
The only reason I think they might just take this jump to that hologram thing is because that'll be the end of TVs anyway. You'll never need a new TV. You'll just need an update to your hologram projector technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some sort of lens or something.
Plus, they'll never ever sell another side. There'll only be one projector that you'll buy. You'll never, and it'll be able to. I want a 50-inch TV or I want a 3-inch TV. It's like it won't make any difference. You could just project it, can't you?
Yeah.
So they'll never be selling sizes of TVs ever again. I think that'll be the last thing they do before Elon Musk takes over.
Yeah, well, that's why I think it'll be something in your mind, because you won't even need a TV if it was like an augmented reality type thing. You just like, okay, put this on, and you just sat in your room, and it makes your room, and it's just it wouldn't even need to be a Matrix. You just go telly, and then it just like appears in front of you, like as if it were in the room. You know what I mean? And you could sit and watch it like everyone sits around watching the telly off.
Like it's,
you know what I mean? Like so, it looks like it's there.
Yeah, you could designate the spot in the room where the TV will be.
Yeah,
and then you just activate TV in your vision, and it never moves from that spot. Everywhere you go, you always see it from that angle.
Or even if you wanted to pick it up and walk off, like just like you don't have to hold it in your hands, like you've got your phone or whatever, you're watching something, you're just watching it.
Just switch it to roaming mode, and then it'll just stay where it was, and you just walk off, and then like it'll just stay where it is in your vision.
Yeah, it's still in your vision, but just kind of like don't see.
And then when things happen, there's movement like in front of you, it'll go like sort of translucent, and you can kind of see what's going on in front of you.
Yeah. I saw a tweet from Elon Musk the other day. It said, "I can't wait till you can steal a Tesla on GTA inside your Tesla." While playing on GTA inside your Tesla or something like that. I'm like, yeah, that's going to be like, he was like, it's something like coming soon or something like that. But I was just like, yeah, that's pretty much what it's going to be. You're going to be able to, play the thing. And I think games will go more that sort of way anyway. I think it'll be more into the open world, full, like, if it's a cop game or a fucking, or whatever it is. Or it'll go like fucking like the Oasis, or like that one that what's his face that Ryan Reynolds made. I haven't actually seen it yet, but the one where he's like in a computer game, and he's like a non-play character, but everything's just fucking insanity all around him.
What's this?
Everyone's just like robbing banks and shit. It's a film by
oh shit!
Well, it's got him. I haven't seen it. It's called like non-player character or level up or something like that. It's some sort of name like that, but it's a Ryan Reynolds one. I think it's supposed to be out, but it's not out yet.
Was it one of these that just got stuck?
I think so. Well, I saw a trailer for it before the lockdown, so it could be 6 months away. It could be 5 years away for all I know. But it looked like it was finished. What's it called? What's the film he's working on at the moment?
I don't know. I can't find it.
It's got a bit of an ominous name. Well, not an ominous name, but like the name's a bit, doesn't really describe it fully. But
can't find it. No matter, fucking can't be asked. I'm talking about gaming. Did you see the Twitch stuff that happened this week with Dr. Disrespect?
No. Oh, Free Guy. It's called Free Guy. Dr. Disrespect. No.
Yeah, he's like a Twitch streamer. There's some big Twitch streamers like Lyric and Shroud and Ninja.
I know Ninja. I've heard of Ninja. Yeah.
Yeah, big fucking streamers. Anyway, there's been a load of weird shit going on with streaming actually recently. Just before I talk about this, it's like, did you hear about this Mixer thing that happened the other week?
No.
Anyway, I'll just tell you. Basically, Mixer was set up by Microsoft. It was like a kind of rival platform to Twitch. They offered like big contracts, like about literally at the beginning of the year, like or end of last year, kind of. No more than
to gamers and stuff to get like a
massive contracts to Ninja and Shroud, I think. It were two massive streamers to go over there and take all the viewership over, millions, and then basically they just shut it down. The whole service, Microsoft just went, we've done enough, and they just shut the whole thing down. Apparently they've had to pay millions out to these two streamers or a bunch of streamers, so they've owed all the contract stuff, and these streamers have been allowed to just go back to Twitch and do what they want now.
Right.
And so there's really weird business practice. I don't know what the deal with that was. Anyway,
quarantine, lockdown, fucked it up.
Potentially, yeah. Anyway, the thing that literally the other day, this Dr. Disrespect was streaming, And then like there's been a whole conspiracy thing about this now because he was streaming and then whatever, and he's a bit of an I've never watched him particularly, but I've seen a few of his things. It's quite funny. But anyway, he looks at his phone on the stream, and then he just kind of goes dead weird and starts going like, "Huh." Like and making saying weird things, and then like just goes fuck, and then just like ends the stream, and then like that's literally apparently he's been banned, permanently banned from. That's what he got the message on his phone apparently, like saying you've been permanently banned from Twitch.
He's been blocked from Twitch.
Yeah, and so everyone, the whole of Twitter's just blown up, going like, "What the fuck's the rate? Why has he been banned?" You know, and then people are going, "Oh, it's because he's, it'll be a Me Too thing, or he's getting cancelled, or something's gone on."
It's a paedophile or something, yeah.
Whatever, like yeah. Anyway, fucking Twitch has said nothing, and then he came out yesterday or earlier today and just said like, "I've got no idea why I've been banned, and Twitch haven't confirmed anything. They haven't given me any specifics." Everyone's just like, "What the fuck is happening?" Like, I mean, this guy's worth millions. They literally paid him.
Yeah, obviously he's gonna have.
Yeah, paid him a massive contract to do all sorts of stuff like earlier in the year. Twitch. No, less than that. 3 months ago, like it's earlier in the year. I get it, but yeah, just fucking weird though. Yeah, and there's still no news. Just been looking on it now. Yeah, still no news about it.
Weird.
I reckon though that he was potentially, him and a bunch of other big streamers are potentially talking about creating their own streaming platform and just moving there themselves and just cutting Twitch out of the deal completely.
Oh yeah, Dr. Dish permanently banned from Twitch. They haven't told him why he's been banned. Weird.
Very strange going to 2020, mate. 2020.
It's just another 2020. Just another 2020, baby.
Another 2020
is a weird one.
That's it.
It's just another 2020 joint. Yeah, it's just this world continues to get more insane. I'm actually quite excited about where we're going because I have no fucking idea. I haven't got the foggiest idea of what the fuck's going to go on.
City in India was attacked by locusts.
Yeah, I saw you sent me that. Was it yesterday? Yeah, so that's just another thing.
Mexico police chief survives alleged cartel assassination attempt. That feels like it could happen every couple of days in Mexico City, to be fair. Mate, this world's crazy. It's going crazy this year. I have a theory.
You have a theory?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see it. Go on, what's it? What's your theory?
I think we've entered like a sort of bizarre stage of like the universe or something where probability or has changed and like stuff that may not have happened started to happen. Can't explain it, but I'm thinking it's like I was watching a thing about last year's Champions League.
Okay.
And I know it's really weird this. Like it was the weirdest, like most insane Champions League ever. Competition tournament ever. Like no one had never seen any things happen like this. In just game after game, just crazy fucking goals and weird shit and goals disallowed and last minute things. And then all the way up to like basically the Liverpool match where Barca came to Liverpool. They were 3-0 up basically. And Liverpool just destroyed them like 4-0.
Right.
And everyone was just like, that was the most insane game of football anyone has ever seen. It was exactly what we needed to do, and we just went out and did it. And anyway, everyone was like, that is the greatest semi-final that anyone has ever seen in a club competition ever or anywhere in football. And then literally the next day, Spurs played Ajax, and it was like the same fucking thing almost. They were like 2 goals down, and it was just for goals going in everywhere, and they pulled it all the way back, and then they won it at the last minute. And it was, again, the most insane game of football anyone had ever seen. And the whole championship the whole like Champions League had been like that though. Spurs had done it, Ajax had been doing it, loads of weird games with crazy probability shit just going on, like weird shit, all culminating with the shittest final that ever happened ever. Like most boring final ever. Like I'll let it off. But I started to think about this theory and I was like, at some point, I think last year, something happened because the Premiership was very weird as well. And so it's a good little sort of bar to kind of look at probability, sports, because it is
sports, because it is based around probabilities.
It's just physics. It's a ball bouncing in space.
Yeah.
It's just an object in space, isn't it? A lot of the time. And so it's good to see when crazy stuff starts happening. It's almost like a barometer for like, look, the probability things have changed in the world. And I was thinking, it did feel like maybe it's just our perception from the middle of 2020 because it's psychotic.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We're looking at these eyes. Otherwise, it would have been like there was a crazy season last year. Move on to the next one. But because because it stands out.
Yeah, but I'm thinking though the whole of last year felt like it was normal, and then it started to ramp up and get a bit weirder, and then like kind of, and now we're in this year and it's chaos, and it just feels strange. Something's changed in the world in the past few years, and I don't know what.
I feel like we live in a hurricane. I was thinking this the other day. It's like I mean, obviously we've discussed this over the last 3 months, but we're very chilled. We're very chilled out here, nice and cool in our little thing. But it feels like the universe is in like a hurricane. It's like everything's moving at like faster in some places than it would be, but also in different directions than it should, than like the standard of life, whether it's people or emotions or whatever it is. It just seems it's yes and no, because it feels like there's a lot going on in a very short amount of time. It's almost like the amount of stuff, a year's amount of stuff has happened in weeks this year. You know what I mean? Like the amount of stuff that's happened in this year, like overshadows every year that's happened previously. Just the amount of chaos. I mean, obviously we're more susceptible to it because we're sat here quietly watching it, and not really like as engaged in it or not been able to and stuff. But it just feels like this last 3 months, because I was thinking like 3 months of work, I'd be like it would feel like forever. But this has felt like for like a long time and no time at all.
Yeah.
It's such a weird, like more so than ever. I mean, sometimes you go, that year went real quick, or that felt like a long year, but I can't believe it's over. You know what I mean? But this last 3 months is, I mean, obviously it has been because it's something different, and we've been like in panic mode, like mentally and whatever, and kind of in limbo a little bit. But it's just very strange, sort of strange. Yeah, it's a strange time, man. It's a really, really strange time.
I think potentially it's because the world has gone into a bit of a panic mode, and so there's a lot more people tweeting and going apeshit about stuff. So maybe that makes it feel like things are happening faster and more stuff's happening because there's more people sitting on the toilet doing fuck all.
Well, it's also like a car crash. Like a car crash feels like it's in slow motion, and yet you remember it all like it was a fucking hurricane that flew past you. You know what I mean? You're like, I can't believe that just happened, and you'd be sat there and be like, it's only been an hour since it happened, but it feels like a lifetime, and yet you're still feeling the results of it happening like it was a moment ago. That's what the whole year feels like, but it never usually lasts this long. It's like it's not like, you can't say it's an adrenaline dump, but it's like that same sort of thing, like a car crash.
It is technically. It's a slow release adrenaline almost. It's what you said then. It's like, because I haven't been in like, giant fucking fights and stuff like, in the middle of like
Fight's a good example.
Yeah, and like anyone who's been in like a real chaotic situation, almost like some of these protests, some of these protesters, it's like the days they've spent have been like, this is fucking weird. It felt like, because time does, lots of things happen. Time slows down to your mind, in a moment of panic. In a weird way, and things can stretch out, and you have your perceptions change, and so maybe that's what's happened to the world en masse.
Well, a fight's a good example, because like if you're in a big brawl, like it feels like everything around you is moving at a million miles an hour, but if you focus on an individual, it's like you're slowed, you're like stopped in the middle of this brawl. It doesn't feel like you're moving, you know what I mean? Like, so it feels like the everything continues around you, but if you like fighting with one person, it's like that moment is kind of elongated. It's a very strange year. It's a very, very strange year, but it'll continue to be.
I think,
although it does feel like it's calmed down a bit this last week, but I haven't watched anything. I haven't tried to find anything.
I've tried to detach a little bit this last week, because what I've noticed is, since I've started looking at Twitter more regularly for my news during all this chaos, specifically since these Black Lives Matter things started, strangely, just because I wanted to know how the world was falling apart more. But I've noticed that I haven't been able to focus on things as much, TV shows, games. I feel a real urge to pick my phone up all the fucking time. It's the addiction of Twitter just coming in.
Oh, I
think that's really got a hold of people a lot in these last few weeks and months. I think that's really hammering home to the world of how, why it's so chaotic at the moment.
Oops, sorry. Yep.
Obviously, I've got a real
salesman.
Hate. Say.
Nothing. Sorry, I did something on my phone. It made noise. I was just like, sorry, that was me. If you could hear it, I don't know if you could. Go on.
No,
you got a hate.
No. No, I was just saying, like, obviously, I don't like. I've got a bit of a downer to like. I'm quite negative to like social media anyway.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Still use it, but obviously in limited fashion. But yeah, I'm totally convinced now it is driving people insane.
100%. I've only used it for this since lockdown. I never had Twitter before that. I've had Facebook, but Facebook's more like, oh, whose birthday is it this week? And YouTube, I watch most of my media on YouTube. It's like I just watch what I can find on there. And I've got Instagram, but that's more like holiday pictures and climbing videos that I watch. It's not like I don't really have any like political people that I follow. I just have stuff that I enjoy. I
just follow artists.
Yeah, artists and like there's a couple of artists. There's a couple of like crazy people that climb mountains and go on rock climbing and shit like that. I watch loads of that stuff, surfing, and then just mates like putting shit up. But none of it's usually like anything real. It's just interesting distraction-y type stuff. But Instagram is made for like you want to feel, you want to get angry. Here's
Twitter.
Yeah, that's what's like Twitter. Twitter feels like, if you want to get angry, watch Twitter. But I've, like I say, watching Dark, I had to put my phone down, and I kept on finding myself with my phone in my hand. I'm like, why have I got my phone in my hand? Put your phone down.
Did that happen?
You know what I mean? Like, I just start watching something. I'd be like, I'd pause it and I'd be like, shit, no, put it down. You need to focus on this. Because I do that all the time. What was I watching yesterday? I was watching like something and I watched 10 minutes of it. I was like, this is really good. Went to the loo. And by the time I got back to the loo, I'd found something on YouTube to watch that I started watching for half an hour. And then I was like, and I started falling down a bit of a rabbit hole of YouTube. I'm just like, no, just go back to what you're doing, focus on what you chose to do in the first place. But I think that's the problem. Like, it sort of makes you addicted to this 5 minute quick fix like information. It's very much that sort of like it's like smoking a cigarette. It's like you don't want a cigarette. It's not like you're like, oh, I'm dying to have that horrible taste in my mouth, but you get a quick 5 minute fix, and that's what Twitter is. It's like, I don't really want to go on Twitter, but I'll have a quick look, and then you're like, oh, this is an interesting video, 5 minutes, and oh, this person's pissed off with that thing, and it's like, even like emotions, like I can watch something and get pissed off, and then 10 minutes later I can't even remember that video. You know, I can't remember what it was that I was watching. I was like, who was it that said that?
That is quite like telling, actually. Like, yeah, I've noticed that myself. I can just all of a sudden put Twitter on and see a video, especially recently, of someone just getting their head caved in by someone.
Yeah.
And then like I'll be like, fuck, and I'll have an opinion on it, or I'll be annoyed by it or something, even though I don't comment or do anything.
Yeah. No, I don't.
And then I just carry that anger around with me for a little bit. Not anger, but that little bit of shock or
frustration or that emotion. Yeah.
And then how many people are using that to just go immediately on to comment and say something and then get into a battle with someone?
Oh, that's, I think, the majority of why the whole movements at the moment, whole like kind of like cancel culture and stuff like that. I've started watching that season again, the first 5 episodes of the latest season of Rick and Morty again. And when she's like, right, we need to go through there and stop him now, otherwise I'll get on Twitter and you'll be cancelled, or something like that. And I'm just like, it's so like that. I still think the idea of that cancelling people or something, it's just like cancel them from you. Don't cancel them, like try and cancel someone from the world. If you don't like something, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's people that need to be removed from society in whatever way. Like there's people that need to go to prison. But it's like, not everybody needs to go to prison. Not everybody needs to be removed because you don't like their opinion. That's an opinion, that's the point. Unless it's fact. And to be honest, most people get upset that you tell them facts. Like someone is born a man is a man, is a male genetically for the rest of their life, and then like cancel him. I'm like, that's fact. Like genetically, that's fact.
Did you see that? Yeah, it was like that. Oh fuck, what was it? Hang on a sec. Sorry, should have found the fucking. There it is. There was a fucking video. I found this guy, or someone had posted a thing. It was this guy. He's the president and founder of some student thing, and then a Christian conservative. Blah blah blah. He put like a thing up on Twitter, and it just said, "Congratulations to George Floyd on being drug-free for an entire month."
Oh shit!
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought.
Oh fucking hell! I mean, he's put that there to get in a fight, hasn't he? It's just like this will.
First off, I'm like, yeah, right. It's funny. I mean, that is funny. I laughed. Brutal.
That's brutal. That is brutal. Yeah. I mean, it's brutal as fuck. That's why I laughed, kind of uncomfortable laughter there. But yeah, it is funny.
This guy's a Christian, and it's like, but I'm like, why? Yeah, it's funny, but why did you do that?
That's just it's just to enrage people, just to incite
your name
rage. Because that's all it's going to do. There's no alternative there. Yeah, that's it. He's now famous in whatever circle, and I bet his mates love it. I bet they're all high-fiving. Oh, the fucking people will hate this.
So that's what we've got going on.
I mean, Christians are the worst anyway. I mean, like you say Christian, but like they are the worst. They've killed more than any of us, So.
So this is what we've got now. Everyone's got their ego, and everyone's saying stuff, when really you shouldn't be, obviously.
Yeah.
Have we reached the point where the platform is going to start going under because people are just going to stop having an opinion on things, and so it's just going to become redundant?
See, I think it'll go the other way. I just think people that want to argue will go on it. I think there'll be less of the calm voice on there. There'll be people that want to wind each other up to go on. It'll become like a war site.
Yes, well, I think that's already happening.
Oh no, yeah, 100%. But there's still a couple of thoughtful people that go on there to try and make educated points.
Potentially, I think you're going to get a situation where you'll have famous people who don't really have much to say. And so what's the point in even saying anything on Twitter, because you're only going to get in trouble in 10 years anyway for something anyway. It's impossible to predict.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is also, it's you've got to think if me coming into this completely fresh, if I didn't know what Twitter was and I was 15 years old, I'd be oh, everyone abuses everyone on Twitter. That's fine. That's how it's done. So my initial stance would be going hard. Whereas 10 years ago, people were oh, this is a really philosophical site, and sometimes people fall out, but you can have a really discussion. And so people went in with that intention in mind. Whereas now you're going in intention with your backup going, right, as soon as I get on there, I'm going to have to start insulting people. Otherwise, they're not going to listen to me.
That's it. And some of them are just coming in hot, just going fucking Antifa.
Just coming in hot. Day one, just fuck me. That joke. It's you went in there to fucking wind people up. There's no someone's going to go, that's quite a clever joke, but Black Lives do matter. No one's going to do that. Anybody that has any opinion, especially modern, the last couple of weeks sort of thing. Anyone that's got any sort of it's too soon, man. That joke's too soon. Way too soon. Jesus Christ. Fucking hell.
It's too unnecessary. It's we get it. It's funny, but yeah, what's the point? Say that to a mate in the living room. Don't fucking say it on Twitter.
I think the thing is I can understand. I think it's justifiable that people are angry and get at each other and picking each other now in the current this year, but that's that's not an exception. That's just the way it always has been. If anything, it got calmer for a couple of months at the start of the year when everyone was quarantined. Everyone was being nice to each other for a minute.
Yeah, everyone was nice for about 2 weeks, weren't they?
I can understand people being raging over Black Lives Matter. I can understand they're not against it, but saying you need to fucking listen to this. I can understand that, but it's the people that talk about fucking normal shit. I have a lot of passions, but I never fucking call someone a cunt because they did martial arts badly, or if you watch them videos when there's them shit martial arts, I don't give a fuck. I'm just that's funny. They're idiots, or if there was some guy who did climbing wrong, or fucking someone that chose a different way to do things that I thought was completely wrong, I'd be
This is where I think it kind of it's addictive, this, and it's built to, obviously, you see a little thing, you've got instantly, you can just add a little comment that fucking takes the piss, and it's designed that way. Yes, and it's designed that way.
And you're invisible. Yeah, and you're going to have backup. You're going to have someone inside. And if you don't have backup, if anything, that'll make you more famous because I'm battling against the masses, and it kind of reaffirms your idea. If you go on there and put that joke on there, and then he gets fucking death threats and people fucking say they want to fucking murder him and kill his family and shit like that, he's become more militarized in that sense. He's going to be well, fuck those guys. I was making a joke, I can't even make a joke, blah, blah. It's very rare that people are going to take that and go, actually, it was me. You know what I mean? Because it's they're not taking it in the context that I meant it in. It was just a fucking joke and blah, blah, blah. And it is just a joke.
I think because Twitter obviously has become integral in people's not just identity, but people's business as well, and and so
society,
there's people on there who are just random dickheads with their opinions, and there are people on there who have an entire persona as a business person or whatever, or an actor or whatever.
So, and so, or an actor or whatever.
You get these people saying things, and then there's just so many idiots just waiting to say shit. I just don't know. it's just a horrendous example of humankind.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Well, you've got to think of the people. I mean, the people that go on there want to. I mean, most people that go on Twitter, most people that like engage in Twitter, say, because we go on it, we don't engage in it. But most people go in there. They go in there believing that their opinion matters. You know what I mean? Like they go in there, like most people go in there with something to say, and I'm like, I don't really give a shit about my opinion. Like I know I give a shit about it from how it affects me, but if other people don't, I couldn't give a toss. Whereas some people will be like, you know, they're invested in their opinion, and it's like, you know, so it's like it's less changeable and less, you know, kind of diverse. And so they go on there and they're like, they get their back up, and then they, like I say, they go down rabbit holes. It's like I saw a thing the other day where Stephen Fry was like, I decided to take a month off of social media, so I'll see you again soon. I'm like if I took a month off social media, I would take a month off. I don't have to introduce the fact that I'm taking a month off. But it's like the people that are so like invested in it are the people that have to then like they have to. It's like you say, like a business. They have to deliver to their fans and say, like, I'm really sorry I have to do this. It's like it owns them as much as they own it. It's like, say, it not only becomes addictive, but it becomes necessary for their, like I say, if you're an actor or a comedian and that's the way you've advertised yourself for 10 years, you can't then not advertise yourself that way because people are like, well, what's up with this person?
Is it just the ego then? It's an ego platform just for like everyone who's a personality and presenting something, and then everyone who wants that.
I think it's just a trap. The thing is, it's like the model of it is a perfectly good model. Everyone has their say. Everyone's equal. You know, I can sit and send a message to fucking Ricky Gervais if I wanted to. He probably wouldn't read it. He probably gets a few. But I could send like a direct message to anybody I want, and they can send direct message to me. So everyone's equal on there. Like no one's more famous or less famous, regardless of your followers or whatever. Obviously, you need people to listen to what you say, but yeah, there's an aspect of an ego, but there's also an aspect of like any fandom, you know, like I'm sure Julius Caesar had to like pander to the masses in order to achieve his goals. You know, I mean, he started to use them, and like he needed them as much as they needed him. You know, like so. And I think that's what it is with that. It's like once you get on there and you become big on there, that is your entire identity. You see it with all the YouTubers and shit like that. It's just like you realize that actually they're traps now. This is a job. It's like if you're a YouTuber and you're like somebody that travels the world, that's one thing. But most YouTubers, they're famous for doing stuff specifically for YouTube. So they're like, I don't know, fucking trick shots or jokes or whatever it is. But they have to gaming playthroughs, exactly. So it means like without that platform, they can't exist anymore. Whereas like somebody that travels the world and videos it, they can still exist. They just don't video anymore. They put it on something else. Like what? It makes no difference to theirs. They might not earn as much money, but they're not tied into it. But because they've created this new like generation of people that are like famous YouTubers, you know, influencers and all that shit. It's like they've given all their power to YouTube. They started off with all the power. They got all these fans, and now YouTube or whatever streamers, like say Twitch or whatever it is, it's like they can just be like, you're done, you're cancelled. It's crazy. I wouldn't want to be part of it. I'm don't get me wrong. I love the money. And I like to do stuff and make the world better, but I just think it's a trap. It's a trap.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. It's all the ego, like you said. It's the people going on thinking their opinion matters, but it's become a situation now where everyone's opinion does matter because of it, because of the platform. It's like, so everyone's in where they think, oh, well, everyone's giving the shitty opinion, so I'll give mine.
I wonder, like, I would like something like Twitter that wasn't remotely biased. Like, there was no left or right wing. There was no politics behind. I mean, not the people. The people can do whatever they want, but like the actual site itself, like
there's one called Parlay or something, or Parler or something. It's a lot of people have been jumping into that now as well because of Twitter getting so, you know, shutting down all these voices and cancelling people.
Yeah. Because the thing is, if you had someone that was in between and that just didn't give a shit about the opinion, like they right is right and wrong is wrong or whatever, like, you know, like in the basic sense, but you know, they don't care about like your views, like your political views or whatever like that, then you could at least get a sense of the the mean average of people's opinion. So like if 90% of people say this and 10% of people say that, then you're like, well, that's probably like what actual society thinks. And so maybe that's what we need to we have to do the best for the biggest majority, like the needs of the many sort of thing. But with something like Twitter or, YouTube or whatever like that, because it's run by idealistic people of a single idea, of like left wing or whatever, then you're never going to get an honest medium of opinion, because they're going to suppress some and push others forward and stuff. It's like Joe Rogan was talking recently on his podcast about the Elon Musk podcast didn't trend. Even though it was the biggest podcast he'd done, it never trended. And there was people on that day that trended that had significantly less views, because he like the media doesn't like Elon Musk because he says it how it is. He's straight down the line with it. And whether he's left or right wing, I couldn't tell you, but he's down the line with the idea of it.
Well, plus it's like the day that gets released, it's like no one on Twitter is gonna, or running Twitter or deciding the trending, is going to bother to listen to 3 hours worth of Rogan podcasts to hear if he says anything dodgy. So they just go, no, just don't make it.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like, yeah, we can't put that forward because what if, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I found that fascinating because, like one of the most influential, intelligent people on the planet having a conversation for 3 hours, you'd think that would trend around the world. Yeah, like if everyone was like us, yeah, like you think like the people should recognize that that's one of the most important conversations. Like imagine having that conversation with fucking Edison or Tesla. You know what I mean? Like it's like back in the day, it's like that would be like the biggest conversation on the planet at that time. If they could show that to the whole world, that would change the way the world was. Whereas nowadays it's like, oh, we don't like Elon Musk. Like, so fucking what? Like, like I'm sure he didn't like Napoleon and to talk to him, but he changed the world, so you need to listen to him. I'm not saying Elon Musk is Napoleon, obviously. He's much taller. But yeah, it's just one of them things where you just kind of like, that should be something that everyone should be at least allowed to watch or introduced to or like made available to them without having to look for it.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, it is really strange that they should allow a kind of, sort of, what's the word? Censorship, I suppose, isn't it? Bias, yeah. Bias would be better, yeah.
Biased, yeah. I would say, yeah.
It feels like,
yeah.
It just feels
like,
it is. I don't understand though how that is allowed, and then so many different variations of just idiocy in what people say, and like you'll get like some of these people like kicking off over certain things nowadays, and they're just basically committing acts of violence and they're just basically being the thing they're complaining against, and they're just completely oblivious to the hypocrisy of it. And I don't know if that's part of the site or whether it's just a lot of dumb young people who don't give a shit about stuff like that.
I think it's to do with anger, though. I think there's emotionally, like people's, like especially the young, the chemicals in the body and all their fucking hormones and shit are just wrong. The brain isn't fully formed yet, and they're being asked to, well, they're being encouraged to share and given a platform to share. You know what I mean? And it's like, fair enough if you're like a lot of people have said it about that fucking Greta Thunberg. It's like, since when do we start taking advice from 16-year-olds? She gave a good speech with that, how dare you speech. That was awesome. It was powerful. I liked it. I watched that and I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, kid. But then she was on the board of the coronavirus. Like the World fucking Health Organization put like a panel together and Greta Thunberg was on it. I'm like, it's one thing for her to have an opinion. It's like nobody's a genius of everything, and she's not like this like super genius. She's not at school because she's on a panel for coronavirus because she's the popular vote. Like, oh yeah, people like her and they know her and stuff. I'm like, A, she never said anything about fucking viruses and the way the world's going to end. And B, why the fuck have we got a 16-year-old making it like, do we not have somebody more qualified that could actually do it that maybe isn't fucking famous? But it's because she was, she's known. And so people can go, well, we've even got Greta Thunberg on our panel. It's fucking ridiculous. I mean, she like say that first speech she gave, I thought was awesome. I was just like, fuck yeah, man, you tell her how it is, kid. Like a couple of years, she's going to be an activist. No, instantly they just went, oh yeah, she's famous now. She's like the poster child for the green sort of movement. And it's just that thing where I'm just like, this is just a popularity vote. Everything in the world is just a popularity vote. I think that's what it comes down to.
Well, that's it. And then she will have like run away with that now, and she's like kind of part of her whole spiel now is like playing into that popular thing and keeping her image going and all this sort of stuff. Fucking horseshit. I was watching that. I was just watching Brett Weinstein on Rogan the other week. It was about a week ago or something. And he was talking about stuff like this, how like the sciences have basically just got themselves into such a state of shite where they're not allowed to talk about things, and they're doing stuff like this, you know, like putting dumb, just like no experience on a panel.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's wrong. The whole world's fucked. I'm sick of talking about it.
The whole world's fucked. No, but unfortunately, this is all there is. It's all that's left, because it's not even like, you know, there's no movies left.
That's it. Virtually, surely Dark, and that the series of Dark was the last thing. Maybe that's what they're talking about. It's the end of the world. It's like, well, there's nothing else coming out.
It does feel. I was watching that thinking, like, it could just end tonight. Like, I should get through this, because this could be it. I think that's the point. At the end, it's just me sat in my room. I'm like, wait a minute, that's me on the TV, and then it disappear.
I was thinking, has this whole year just been a publicity stunt for Dark? They've just gone, let's just start the entire fucking pandemic and everything.
Yeah. If in her universe, if there was a pandemic that killed everyone, I'd be like, oh fuck. Yeah, but there is loads of stuff like that this year. There's loads of little bits where I'm just like, that just feels like a mirror of this year. But I guess this happening in any year would have that same nuance to it.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Well, I didn't even hear it. Sorry, I missed that one. My bad. I made a bad joke.
Sometimes it works out when you trample all over my jokes.
Okay, sorry. I'm trying. I do try my best. I am trying to. I'm learning to listen. It's really difficult to listen when I'm not face to face with people. I'm not good at it at the best of times in person, let alone over the phone.
It's very difficult to get a word in edgeways sometimes, especially tonight. It's been very difficult.
I'll let you talk. You talked about science for ages. You talked about the end of the universe. I didn't even interject in there because I thought I don't want to spoil his train of thought, because it's difficult enough.
No. I think it's hard because you can't, like, it's like we can't both talk, you know. And I think it's like that's been a difficult thing. But I think it's probably it's become. I don't think it matters anymore because everyone's got so used to just how god awfully shit everything has become since the pandemic, and you know what I mean? How shit every Zoom podcast you've watched is, how awkward it is.
Oh yeah, the professionalism is right out the window, isn't it? Yeah.
Everything's horse shit. It's all just looks like garbage, doesn't it? And everyone's talking over each other and just pausing and cutting out all the time. Just shite. But I do struggle. I think. I don't know. Actually, I think I work better without having to look at people in a weird way, because I struggle. Yeah, I struggle keeping. I don't like eye contact. I hate keeping eye contact.
Right.
It's just boring, you know. It's like I don't need to look at you all the time to be hearing what you're saying.
See, it's weird because I agree with that, because if I'm sat in a room trying to learn something, I normally doodle in order to listen.
Yeah. That's what I think.
You know what I mean? I sit and doodle, and like I've said it before. People like, you listen. I'm like, no, I do this because it helps me listen. Like if I'm sat here listening to paper, I'm listening. I'm engaged in what I'm listening to. Whereas if I sit and look at something and something's out the window, I start looking out the window and get like distracted. Whereas if I choose to distract myself, I tend to listen better, and I can like interject and like have thoughts and stuff. I don't know why. But I do find that in person it's better because I can see like there's physical cues for when to shut the fuck up. And I've never been good at it. I mean, you've known me long enough. I talk a lot. I get excited. I talk over people. It's something that I've tried to improve in as I've grown older, but I still do it. I have to apologize all the time for talking over.
It's fine.
It's because I've got something to say and they're used to, like, I don't give a shit what other people say. It's all about me. It's just my story.
I think everyone, this is it. It's like, I think it's just, I don't know. I've got used to it just because I've had my mother has a thing where she interrupts all the time because she can't hear as well. And so I think I've had that my whole life. And so I've got used to kind of just stopping talking because there's no point because she can't hear me. Like, so, I think I've been trained as I grew up.
See, I think it was the other way around for me. I think I had the same sort of situation where I was the middle child. I was quite quiet as a kid. But every time I spoke, I'll just keep talking until you listen to me. You will shut the fuck up. Yeah, I feel like that's what it was. And I think that's why I also became funnier as a kid. I think that's why the reason I found comedy, because I could say a quick line in someone else's sentence and it'd bring the attention back to me. It's all about me. It's all about me, basically. But yeah, interesting.
I had a thing today, though, where I had to, my mum had, because she's not been too well, she's now got to the point where she's got friends coming round and family members and stuff.
To look out for us, I think, to check on it.
Yeah, but just to catch up because now everything's lifting, the lockdown and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right, yeah,
everything's lifting up. And so we got today, like one of my aunties came round who hasn't been round. We haven't seen each other the whole lockdown and all that. And my cousin,
that's cool.
another woman. And she, so they came in, and my mum's sitting on the couch, and my auntie sits opposite, and then there's another chair, like, so they're sitting in like a kind of, a triangle. And like I come in and I'm like, all right, how you doing, everyone? Yeah, and I'm having to do this all the time at the moment. Just come in and attend.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had to do that. Mum's like, your sister's round.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess we'll go.
And so
do
like
that
I come in, I'm like, oh yeah, and I don't know what it is. I don't like to sit and chat. I like to just pace and talk to people that way, like and just sort of shuffle about, and then so I can walk off easily.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that.
That's a good tactic I've got. But my mum goes, I'll just sit down, and so I had to sit at the end of the couch. And so I'm sitting there, and the auntie opposite, my mum to the left, and the other cousin to the right. So, and I'm just like, basically just an old woman conversation. Just a nice conversation about nice stuff, And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, God.
Yeah.
And it's just going back and forth, and I'm just turning my head, and all of them, and everywhere I look, they're all looking at me, kind of, and talking, and I'm just like, fucking hell. And it's like, and this is my nightmare situation. Like, I can't, so I just end up like looking into space in the middle spaces between them, and then until one of them speaks to me directly, and then I'll look at them in the eye for about 5 seconds, and then I look away. If even that last 5 seconds, I have to look. I don't know what it is about me. I think I'm autistic.
I know what you mean, though. I struggle to I've always struggled to make eye contact. I always find it uncomfortable. It's weird that I can find myself making eye contact if I'm engaged in a conversation, but it's without thought. But the more I think about it, the weirder it becomes until I can't look at people.
That's the thing. And immediately, as soon as I sat down, I made eye contact with my cousin. She started saying something. I immediately noticed that I'd made eye contact with her, and then looked away. And then I went, I've just noticed that I've made the eye contact. And that was it.
And then you have to make yourself make eye contact a couple more times. I always find it like, because every time I go on a date, if I speak to my friends, like, make sure you make eye contact, and I'm just like, don't fucking give me don't give me tips, because all I'll be thinking about the whole time is the tips you've given me and making sure I'm following the tips rather than just being a human being. So leave me the fuck alone. I'll be as weird as I want, and if they like me, they can stick around.
Yeah, they're gonna have to get used to it.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I'm just like, stop telling me to perform. I'm like, I'll just be me. Like, I'm all right. I'm fine. I think I'm a nice guy. If they like that, then they can fucking deal with it. If not, then they don't have to. But yeah, don't tell me what to do, because it happens every time.
I think a date is one of the only situations where I'll sit opposite someone and just have a conversation and make solid eye contact. It's like, but the whole time I'm just like so locked into looking at them in the eyes that I barely ever look away, and it's it's weird. I think I don't know why.
Well, we'll have to practice it when we do our podcast. We're gonna have to sit eye to eye, like literally nose to nose, just eyeballing each other. Just like, don't move away, Dan. Don't look away.
I've only got one mic, so that we'd have to do that.
So that there you go. You have to keep leaning in. Oh yeah, I understand what you're saying.
On a date, it's good though, I think, because I've had dates where like you do things and that's all right because you don't have to look all the time because you're like doing an activity.
Yeah.
I'm all right at both. I don't know what it is. I think maybe the date, because I'm interested in having sex or whatever. It's like a more incentive to me to maintain eye contact. I don't know.
Well, I think also it's like there's more going on. Like if I meet somebody that I know, then I'm not that. I probably have made eye contact with them before. I probably looked into their soul many a times, had conversations with them.
Yeah.
Whereas on a date, it's like I've never seen you before, so I'm like, I'm interested. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at your face, your hair, your eyes, how you like your expressions, trying to read stuff, trying to pick up things. It's kind of more of a study of your face. I'm never going to get a date again if anyone hears this. He's studying my face like a weirdo.
I think we missed the boat. I was just thinking about it the other day. Yeah, I was just thinking about it the other day. I was like, have we? I mean, I'm 41 now, so I'm getting old. And but have we? Has the world changed so much now that we're almost in this deep into Me Too era now? And I don't know what the potential feeling of a lot of people I'm going to be dating in the future might be, and it feels weird.
I think there'll be the same balance as there is now, because there's still going to be people like
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
us our age, as women, female. So there's still going to be the normal people.
Yeah, true. Actually, yeah.
That's the one thing I find about social media is I've never met people that are this extreme. I've talked to people about all different things. I've talked to people about like things they're passionate about, things we disagree on, we agree on. I've never met anyone that's like, fuck you. I mean, I've met people that don't like me, but that's nothing to do with like, it's usually just because they're a dick.
Yeah, but it's because they're wrong. Yeah.
But it's not to do with like my
wrong,
fucking religious or political views or anything like that. It's never anything like that. It's just that I don't like them and they don't like. If anything, I meet more people where I instantly don't like them. Where I'm just like, I don't like that person. They're like, why not? It's fine. I'm like, yep, all the things about him seem fine. I've met like, especially when I worked at the bank, there was a couple of people meet them. I'm like, I just don't like that guy. And they're like, why? He's really nice and he helped me do this and he was really excited with you and you seem to go on. I'm like, yeah, I just don't trust him. Like just day one, just like I just don't.
Yeah, no, I
don't know why, don't know what it is. But it's very rare that I meet someone. I'm like, I don't like this on blah blah blah.
No, yeah, I think I have that trouble as well. Meet someone and I just automatically sort of decide that they're not worth it my time. Like I don't know if that's arrogant or what. I don't know.
Well, I think it comes from like I've met people like them. Like you see certain things in people, and you just like they're a Dave, you know what I mean, or whatever. You know, I don't know any Daves I dislike, but you know they're a Gary or something. You know, somebody you previously disliked, and it's just like they just seem like that person. They've got the same aspects of them that remind me of that person and I don't like that person. So, or maybe it's just a different timeline. Like in another timeline, you hate them or the enemy.
Maybe it's like that video I sent you, the other one. Did I send you the woke one where they're having that meeting about being too woke?
Oh, you too woke to enjoy your life or something.
I think maybe it's a bit like that. There's a lot of people, or a lot of these young people on Twitter. They're at the point where they give a shit and they haven't met enough dickheads to go. Oh, it's just hopeless. Fuck them. Fuck everyone.
I think it also stems from like social media. Like before, like someone could say something, and like the joy of memory is that you forget stuff. You sugarcoat things and you rose tint stuff. Whereas now it's like it's all recorded. Everything's recorded, so you can look back and be like, actually, that annoyed me 12 years ago. I'm going to bring it up because now it's relevant.
That's why I don't know why people are saying anything on Twitter of note. Because it's like, this is forever. This is going until the end of time. The computer at the end of time is going to be mulling over your bloody George Floyd comment.
Yeah.
Like, fucking hell. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It just fucking seems really weird thing to do. Everything. I mean, some things you got to say sound, but everything, all the things that people are saying every day.
Yeah.
In the archive until the end of time. Seems weird.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
Seems wrong.
Yeah, it does. It does in a way. But at the same time, you could say that someone's got to do it. It's just the fact that everyone gets. I mean, it's equal in the fact that everyone gets the opportunity to do it, but it's not equal in the sense that everyone should have the opportunity to do it because not everyone is. People are not equal, whether like intellectually or like their opinions. They're just not everyone has not everyone has the intelligence to be able to give an honest, open, thoughtful, analyzed opinion of the world, but they're all allowed to.
I think it's like we're allowing a lot of these people to judge or to decide what's acceptable and dictate what's acceptable in society, when a lot of the time these people are children or teenagers or early 20s and they've got no brain, don't know anything, and children, or B, they're like people who are transgender, for example, and are on wild hormones and shouldn't be making decisions on fuck all, really. And then there's other people who are kind of like deeply ingrained in their identity, as in like a sort of, black people in America or gay men or whatever, or lesbians. And so all their decisions are deeply biased towards their identity politics. I just think, I mean, I'm not saying other people don't have identity, but it's like, I'm not walking around going, I'm hetero, hetero, all the fucking time, deep hetero man. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't, I don't even think about it. It doesn't define me as a person. And so maybe that's just a white guilt thing. Who cares? Fuck you. But like, it just feels to me like some of these people are now governing small minority of them on Twitter, basically, which is the small minority of the population governing what we're deciding, what we're allowed to say and do and all this shit. It just feels like these people shouldn't be making decisions because you're not impartial. You know what I mean? And that's like the nicest way I could put it, really, I think.
Mm.
So they're not impartial.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Well, they go in with a bias. You can't have like, you can have your ideas, but you need to be like welcoming to new ideas and new concepts. For both sides, like whatever it is. But at the same time, it's like you need to be open enough to understand a perspective. And if you go in, whether right wing, left wing, gay, straight, fucking transgender, anything, if you go in with one idea and say this is 100% what it must be, and there's no other alternative, then you're never going to come to any sort of resolution with it because
everyone's doing that.
You're not willing to, yeah, and that's what everyone's doing. And the thing is, because they're shouting out into the void, and people might listen, but they don't care if people listen.
Yeah, that's the
The
thing.
idea is to shout out into the void. That's the whole point. That's the aim of it.
The void isn't listening to you. Everyone else is shouting, and they can hear what you're saying. And then they're arguing about it. But who are you shouting it at?
Yeah. I mean, because that's the thing. They create an imaginary enemy. Like you were saying on the last time we discussed, it's like, who is like pro racism? You know, I mean, like they're shouting against this idea of like, I mean, I'm guessing there are definitely people, of course there is, but it's like that is a massive minority of, like a significant minority of people. Like it's a very small amount of people is what I'm trying to say. But yet you're screaming out like it's everybody.
Yeah, and you're screaming like it's everyone, and those are the only people that would respond to you anyway. And this is the thing, it's like, people be screaming on Twitter if no one ever responded to them or replied or retweeted or anything. Like if everyone just said their own thing and didn't comment on anyone else's stuff,
yeah,
Twitter wouldn't operate the same way, would it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It
lives off people, off all these sick-minded ego people, just going, I can't stand that person said that thing, so I'm going to kick off about that now. And then there's someone doing the same thing about something they've said. It seems like it's just designed to be this ego thing, and everyone's just ignoring the fact that all these, not only all that shit we said before, the bias and all that, but all this ego of just like, they all want to be a superstar now, and everyone's just ignoring it. Like, it's fine. Like they ignore politicians lying through their fucking teeth all the time. Like I said, the lie,
the
lie in the universe, in the world, is driving people mad. Like I was saying the other week.
Well, that's what I think it is. I said this. I think it's the fact that the lie is so in your face now. Like 10 knew it was a lie, but there was nothing. There was no way to prove it. Like the everyman couldn't prove it.
Yeah.
It's like, like I was talking about the Epstein case, and I'm like, it happens then. She's like, yeah, well, we know it happens.
So why?
Like, that's the point, though. Everyone knows it happens. It's like it's not a surprise to anybody, but we've done nothing about it for the last 40 years or 50 years. It's like everyone just assumes that, because there's so many stories that have come out in all times, and everyone, like whether it's like Maurice talked about it 20 years ago. That's why he killed himself and all this sort of stuff, supposedly, because like they were abused as kids and passed around Hollywood and all this shit. And people were like outraged by it, but no one did anything about it. They just went, oh, that was terrible, singular incident. I'm like, well, no, that was everything. But like saying nowadays, it's so in your face.
Yeah, and I mean, it might be a good thing. It's like potentially this could be like Hollywood coming down soon, like, with this whole comedy scene in LA. I do think it's like, this could have started this sort of the firework, that lit the fuse for this, the rings coming down and all that shit. I don't look at Hollywood same way anymore.
Oh, for a long time, yeah, I've thought that. Like I say, I love movies. Like I grew up watching movies. I did film studies at college for a bit. Like I could, when I was 15, I could quote every line from Goodfellas. You know what I mean? Like it's like I love movies, or Blade Runner or whatever. But at the same time, the industry that creates them is the ways to be. And as I said before, because like Fox isn't just films. Fox is music. Fox is computer games.
News.
It's every aspect of entertainment. Yeah, news, exactly. Like all these and not just Fox, but Universal, whoever the company is, whatever the film company is, it's like they're not just a film company. We talk about Hollywood, but it's like
media industry. Yeah.
It's like industry. It's media. Media is sick, and it goes into music, and it goes into news, and it goes into politics because news ties into politics, and it's every aspect of everything that we see every day. And I'm sure it goes down to fucking companies and shit.
Thing is, though, if I was like a kind of bigwig in Hollywood or someone, a big actor, Ryan Reynolds, for example, he feels safe. That I don't feel like he's going to be a pedo, or involved in anything like that. I really hope so. Yeah.
I think that's fair. I hope so.
So wouldn't it be in the best interests of people in Hollywood who aren't involved in this sort of shit to root it out now? Because I think the Hollywood identity has been so like tarnished by this and all this other crap during this lockdown, like that song they did and the stupid "We Take Responsibility" video and all that. It's just sickening. People are done. People feel like they're absolutely fed up with Hollywood people and their bullshit. And like, I would say, if I was a star, I'd be like, we need to do something. We need to get rid of a load of these people. Look like we've weeded them out. Otherwise, and this Me Too stuff and everything. Otherwise, we're fucked. Everyone's just going to look at us like a piece of shit all the time and not trust any of us. And the industry's going to die.
Yeah. I think now is probably it makes sense to do it. I'm guessing there's been people that have wanted to do it for a lifetime. I mean, anybody that's involved in it that is involved in Hollywood that isn't involved in the grimy dark Hollywood or whatever, then yeah, they've probably known about it. But one voice, it would be a drop in the ocean. Like, and people have tried to come out in the past and say, look, this is a hive of scum and villainy. But I haven't done it. But like I say, now is the relevant time, and now they will do it. And the thing is, people that are involved in the darkness will do it now. They'll be like, yeah, those Chris D'Elia. Did you watch his stand-up recently?
No, he's a terrible comedian.
Well, to be honest, his stand-up's actually not bad. I've not really seen much of it before, but I watched his stand-up, but the first 10 minutes of it is like, yeah, you can't do anything now. Like, even if you say a girl agrees, you still have to be like, are you sure?
Really?
And makes this big joke about this, like, like sex showcase. Yeah. It makes it the side of like, like, this is terrible. Like, you need to be really careful and blah, blah. But then obviously this has come out, and I'm like, he's just jumped on the bandwagon. He's like, yeah, this is the new thing, and this is what people find funny, and just because I'm involved in it, it's a dirty little secret, blah blah blah. So it's it's one of them things. It seems unusual that so many people come out. I think it probably is. There's been a lot of flash and stuff, and that's like say the first of the big comedians. I mean, obviously, other than fucking Cosby and a few of the others, but like, and I suppose Louis. But he's one of them guys, and his was apparently grooming like 15-year-old kids and stuff. But there is a clip actually that's out at the moment of him on The Fighter and the Kid with Brendan Sharp and Brian Callen, where they talk about a case that's come out where someone was getting abused or something, and they were like, and Snapchat thing was like, how do you even know? And they're like, Snapchat, and you can see his face, like,
yeah, you could see him like getting convicted in his head right there.
Cool. It's one of them like moments, isn't it? It's just like,
oh shit,
he's working through something in that, isn't he? Yeah, he's definitely working through something in his brain on that point. Yeah, it's like interesting. Didn't know that. Like, he's just learned something that is definitely derogatory to him.
Just learned something that he's going to send him to prison now, and he's like, shit.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I didn't know that you could do that. Of course you can screen save it. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
I think he probably is. I mean, there's probably individuals that have nothing to do with the whole. You know what I mean? There's probably terrible individuals. Like, there's probably terrible Nazis that didn't give a shit about Hitler.
It's like people going, I've been Naziing since the beginning.
If you think about it that way, it's like there's people involved in it that are just like, yeah, this works in Hollywood. I can get away with my old bullshit. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's probably the case in his area. I don't necessarily see an overall picture, but you never know. I mean, who knows? But yeah, it just seems. But like I mean, obviously the Joey Diaz thing. I didn't actually realize what it was until I watched it really. But he was talking about when he was booking comedians, he'd get the girls to give him a blowjob before they went on stage. And I'm just like, shit. Actually, that's pretty fucking terrible. You know what I mean? Like, that's actually really bad. But the difference with him is he openly said it 10 years ago. You know what I mean? He said, look, I was a terrible person once and blah blah blah. And I think for me, that's a different thing, because it's one thing to be like a terrible person, but it's another thing to be a terrible person and then try and recreate yourself and say, look, I was a terrible person once. You know what I mean? Like, and like the aspect of cancel culture is kind of like exactly what he did is the opposite of cancel culture. He made amends, or he tried to make amends and change his attitude and said, look, this is who I am. I want to be a better person. Whereas most people hide it until they get caught. It's like he came out and said it. It's like he went to prison, he's done his time, he's come out. Whereas most people haven't even been to prison yet. And I think that's the difference. But at the same time, I can see why people got pissed off with him. Once I looked into it, I was like, yeah, I can see that. But at the same time, you're not going to cancel that motherfucker. So, head of story. It's like he's fucking forced to be reckoned with.
Yeah, Joey Diaz, it's like, that's completely different. He's like, I don't know why they bother with stuff like that. It's like, that's something he said. It's like they're just annoyed at the whole generality of like him saying it and then them laughing about it. It's like, well, that's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
It's you can't, just because you said it doesn't mean it happened anyway. And where's the person who said, yeah, that's what happened? Is she complaining?
Yeah, and no one's come out and complained about it. That's the
Can't fucking accuse someone retroactively on someone else's behalf.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. This is what we're saying about Hollywood, though. It's like there's plenty of people that made it that have said nothing, and I'm sure there's people that made it that had to go through hell to get there, but they made it, and they went, actually, it was worth every step of it. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's one of them things. It's like you can be offended. It's like I was thinking this the other day, and this is definitely not a well-held point, but if everyone just agreed that that's how it was, that was the rules. Like Hollywood, if you want to be in Hollywood, you're going to be abused. Then there'd still be as many people in Hollywood. There'd probably be more fucked up people because they know what they're going into. But it's not like that stops them doing. You know what I mean? Like if they just said, right, like if you said, like if you're a millionaire and you said, right, I'll give you everything you want for sex, people would do that without a doubt. You know what I mean? Like average people would do that. It's just the fact that they're kind of hiding it behind, like it's like a force thing. But obviously, these girls that have come out in a lot of these cases have like not chosen to do it; they've been forced into it. But at the same time, it's like you could look at it from the other angle. It's like, what if they weren't? And I'm sure there are people that weren't, and just be like, yeah, that's what we had to go through. But look where I am. I'm a millionaire.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The whole thing with the Me Too thing, I suppose, isn't it? It's like there are women who have sucked a cock just because they knew they'd get their career out of it, and they have got that career. And so, like you said, that is quite a thing, actually. Yeah, they just said, well, Hollywood is basically, if you come to Hollywood, someone is going to fuck you in the ass, regardless of how old you are. Children and doing all this weird shit, you would still get the same amount of weird people there as you do now, I imagine. Even weirder.
Oh, of course, yeah. You just get all the people that and like I say, you get the people that are like, oh, if I want to do this, I'll just probably sure there's people in the world that are like just as for this, and they're like, it's difficult because they're probably the people that also argue with it against sometimes, like, oh, this is disgusting, I can't believe you would do this and blah blah blah. Because I say a lot of people have come out and be like, oh, this was terrible. There was a thing with Howard Stern recently where it was like, this Black Lives Matter thing's terrible. I've never said the N word, blah blah blah. And there was a whole recording of him like 45 times. just didn't your research first. You know what I mean? There's people that are like, oh, this is terrible, as like a virtue signaling to the. I wouldn't do that, but it's a fucked up place to be. And again, like I said, I've never met somebody that was absolutely fuming over an idea. I've never met anybody that I know has been sexually abused and stuff. And it's a micro of happens to be happening in a lot of different places, it would seem. And I think it's probably happening in every company. I definitely know people that worked at the bank that slept their way up. 100% know people that slept with area managers and stuff to get like things and chose to. So, and I never heard any of them. So that happened in the bank that I worked at. So I'm sure it happens everywhere. And if you go back 20 years, it 100% happened in the 80s and the 90s. Like we're talking about in 2020. Oh, it's real bad. Yeah, it happened during our lifetime. That was just an accepted norm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sorry, I've just completely forgotten what we were talking about.
It's all right, no bother.
What were we talking about? Completely forgotten.
We were talking about sexual abuse in industry and whether people would choose to do it, and the fact that it happens and people use it to their advantage as much as anything else. That's what we're talking about.
An amazing thing for someone to just completely forget what they were talking about in the middle of it.
Just feel like, sorry, what? Yeah, like instantly, like, sorry, what? What are we talking about? Yeah.
I was
zoned out.
I was thinking, I was looking at I was looking at like there's a couple of stories on YouTube and just like videos. I wasn't watching them. I just read the titles, and then by the time I'd finished reading the title, I'd completely forgotten what you were talking about.
This is why you need to doodle when you're listening. This is why you need to doodle, and you can be like, oh yeah, so you don't get distracted by stuff. I was gonna say I picked up my phone about 5 times. I'm like, I'm not even gonna look at my phone because it makes noise while I'm on the phone to you. So.
Oh yeah, what you say?
Down, but yeah, I know. It's just
thinking like
society
it probably explains why there's a lot of Hollywood stars and writers who are just complete shite and hacks, and they're just rubbish at the job, rubbish actors, and it's either they've done something to get there or they've got some dirt on someone, like a fucking, what's his name, like a Bryan Singer or something. You know what I mean? How many people came up to me before that and were like, how many people have got a career just because they had proof?
Yeah, true. And also, how many like great directors and writers and stuff don't make it. Like, you'll see people that write films where you're like, that was an amazing film, and you'll never hear from that person again because they don't work in Hollywood. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because they choose not to work in Hollywood. They make their film they want. I mean, Tarantino's a good example. He makes films for Hollywood, but he doesn't really make films in Hollywood. You don't see him like chin wagging with Hollywood stars, or like Keanu Reeves, or you could pick a million different people that are like very much the A-listers of celebrity, but yet don't seem to like work within Hollywood very much. Work within that
Maybe
sort
it's
of
some
like.
of these. Yeah, some of them actually, they'll release something or do something, and like and they think, oh, that was cool, and then they all of a sudden just stop or they trail off, and it's because they didn't go to the parties or didn't suck a dick or do whatever they had to do to get there,
Yeah. Oh yeah, like sleep their way to the top.
Yeah, to take their career the next stage further. It's like the gatekeepers are always going to be people who are you willing to fuck this kid because yeah.
Oh, or be fucked yourself. That's why you don't get ugly actresses, mate. It's not because there's some sort of bias towards good-looking people. It's just they don't want to sleep with ugly girls.
No one gives a fuck about talent. That's it. No one gives a fuck if you're talented. What does your ass look like?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Something give a shit.
Yeah. What will you do? What will you do for the role? Again, we don't know. We're talking from like just this complete conjecture, but I do think I'm certain there's aspects of for every like terrible thing that's happened to people. There's people that would like happily take that on, whether it's anything. There's always like grass is always greener. So like if you've got nothing and go nowhere to go and no like life goals, you'll do anything to achieve something even small.
This is what I think is so bizarre about the whole Me Too thing, and a lot of it in a weird way is a lot of the stuff you've heard have happened to women. Most men would be like, "Oh, I'd love it if that happened to me."
Well, not necessarily like an ugly old bitch just trying to have sex with you to get a film. But I think I think men would accept it more because it's more like one of them things.
All right, maybe not something like an ugly old dude, but I mean, like like when you hear people like calling someone out for a date or something that went wrong, and then and then they ended up having sex, and they were like, "Oh no, I didn't." It was, I didn't consent or something. I changed my mind and didn't say anything, and blah blah blah. There's loads of different scenarios.
Yeah.
But it's like,
yeah.
Like I said, even if I wasn't in the mood and I ended up having sex with a woman, and I was like, I actually didn't agree to that, I'd just be like, no, I still had sex.
Yeah.
I still feel pretty used, but I had sex with them.
Yeah. To be honest, I reckon most guys would be like to their mates, like, I got proper used by this woman. She manipulated the fuck out of me. She said I was going to make this film, and then she had sex with me. It was disgusting. Like, I felt dirty afterwards. And your mates would be like, oh, you banged an old bird. You know what I mean? They would do, wouldn't they? I mean, likely it would be one of them things where, and it's like, it's just a different, like, but it's very different. It's also the idea that some fucking sweaty old dude's on top of you. It's one thing for a dude because you can just get it out of the way, just get it fucking smashed and done. But yeah, for a woman, it's like that could last for hours of just grossness. I always wonder, it's like how many random, like extras in films, how many of those have been Me Too? Because they haven't got the platform to come out. You know what I mean? Like they've just been like, oh yeah, you can get a part in this film by some dodgy Hollywood exec, and they slept with this guy, and they got like a 2-minute walk on. You know what I mean? Like
they just. No, I slept with him, and then he never answered my calls again. Just never got anywhere.
Yeah, fake casting couch shit. Because that's the thing. It's like porn, but obviously you're going in there with like the agreement that you're gonna have sex. But like the amount of people that are like casting couched and then never fucking spoke to again. There's got to be loads of people that's like, yeah, I went and did it.
Are we allowed to laugh at this? Like, I just laughed at what you said then. Like that's not a real scenario. Like that didn't happen to someone. You're not telling me a story about it happening to someone, but it's just a invented scenario that could happen to someone.
Everything we talk about, we can laugh at because it's all made up in our brains. Like 90% of it is like half information at the best. You know what I mean? Like even the stuff I know, it's not real. It's like 90% real and 10% just made up in my brain, like thrown together because I forgot some of the words.
Most of the information I'm telling you is wrong anyway.
Yeah. It's like you're like, if you traveled at like somewhere close to speed at like a certain distance, so that like it's like it's all
missing the numbers.
Just loose. And also I think conversation like this is more important. Yeah.
It's all missing numbers.
Yeah, exactly. It's missing the facts. But I think also conversations like this is important because you need to have a conversation about like, well, what about if it went this way? What about if it went that way? What about if the Me Too movement turned to this, or the Black Lives Matter movement turned to this? I'm not saying that. I'm not. And as I've reiterated on multiple times, I have no sides. I let them all burn. I don't care.
Yeah.
Let everybody burn. Me and mine. I would love the world to be a utopia. I'd even agree to like a perfect world without war, without a disagreement, like where you could just have to be like passive aggressive everyone, just not argue. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to exist. And in the meantime, I'd like to be as educated and at least have different perspective as I can going into the world. Otherwise, we're all going to fucking die. I think more people need to have conversations that are like, I don't like that idea. Well, take that side. Take the side of the idea you disagree with, because you'll learn stuff. Well, what about this? Or maybe I could justify it if it was this. Maybe if I was in that situation, maybe this would be the thing. If I was a millionaire and I was just like, I thought I could get away with sleeping with young girls, I would probably try that. You know, like, but at the same time, it's not right that they do that, and I'd expect to be.
The thing is, it's like they're trying to stop. What's the point of being a millionaire? You know what I mean? Well,
if you can't sleep with people. But my thinking is, if you're a millionaire, why are you sleeping with fucking actresses anyway? You can sleep with anybody. You know, you could definitely get girls that would agree to do whatever you wanted to for money. So why bother like
also you could probably.
I suppose it's the power thing.
Isn't there just like absolutely tons of like call girls and prostitutes that are like really high class and high end and really expensive that you could just bang anytime you wanted? There's loads of women. The entire porn industry.
Oh yeah, the entire porn industry. Yeah.
There's loads of people who are willing. Why is the entire porn industry just exempt from fucking cancellation?
Because they all agreed to all the freaky shit they do. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's definitely some girls have been taken. I mean, if anything, there's probably more girls that have been taken advantage of through the porn industry and sex trade and all that stuff than there is in Hollywood.
She walked through the door of cock. Basically, like that's the door with the fucking cocks above it.
Yeah. And also, they're on the fringe of society anyway, so they're people like, oh, we're not fighting the battle for them because they're you know, hussies or whatever. When realistically, they're just people. They're just someone's kids, like fucking any actresses or anybody is. You know, they're all. They're still people, but people assume like it's dirty and gritty. When realistically, they're just people that have sex, like we all do, if we're lucky, have sex.
Dominantly, aren't they all like kind of from like broken homes or they were abused? Anyway,
I think that's probably the
hang on, wait
like
a second.
the
But
story.
I also think one of the only reasons you would ever venture into porn is if you didn't give a shit about the people, like your parents or and the opinions of your family, or if you didn't have family, because you didn't give a shit because they abused you or whatever.
Possibly, but I'd also say, given the opportunity, most guys would go into, or at least, you know, like, here's fucking whoever, super hot porn star. We're gonna film you fucking her. All right.
You could be in porn. I could be in porn, and you'd never know it. Because when do you ever look at the guy? When does anyone ever look at the guy? Most of the time, it's just an ass and a dick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
And you're looking at the bird.
I always check to make sure I don't know them first. I'm like, is that Dan? No, it's not Dan. No, you're right. I honestly, I could name maybe if I was lucky, I could name 10 female porn stars. I could maybe name 1 or 2 male porn stars, including Ron Jeremy, you know, like the original.
Well, he's just been cancelled by you.
And then like, you know, maybe 1 or 2.
Well, it's not actual cancellation.
What's he got cancelled for?
Being charged for counts of rape, apparently, which doesn't surprise me.
That doesn't overly surprise me. It was always kind of gross. And I'm guessing, I mean, the porn stars might come out. There's definitely girls that have been abusing that.
Surely, though, on a long enough career like Ron Jeremy, like that's just when your actual job is banging people. It's like surely that's just going to happen eventually anyway.
Well, you think the porn industry is so like it's not like like Hollywood where it's like they work for fucking Sony or whatever. It's like, you know, you might be getting like, especially, I mean, I don't know if you ever watched what's it called, Hot Girls Wanted or something. There's like a documentary.
It's just recommending a porn for me there.
No. It's called it's a documentary on Netflix about porn stars or about girls that get like kind of pulled into the porn star sort of thing by like somebody saying, you know, come work for me, we're going to take some pictures of you, I'll pay you really well, and then over time they become like sex trafficked and stuff. So don't get me wrong, of course there's girls taking advantage of. There's people that haven't understood what's going on. There are people that don't understand the consequences in time. But I think that's the same as anything. That's the same as something like Twitter, where there's people that go in there with a concept and then come out fucking whatever. So I don't know. Porn's an interesting one. It's very weird because porn is something that I'm pretty sure everybody I know watches, and I've never really had a deep conversation with anyone about porn other than like You know, like how come porn gets really weird after about 10 minutes? if you like just click videos for like 10 minutes, just like follow the next video and the next video, gets super fucking weird. It always like it's like Twitter, it leads you down to the worst point.
It's a weird thing that everyone's agreed on.
Super weird.
And everyone
ignores. And it's such a weird thing to be like upset about. Like people will talk about like their sexual health. They'll talk about, you know, bumps on the boobs. I remember this last, and I hardly know her, and she was telling me about fucking, I checked my boobs today, I've got a lump on it, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't really know what to tell you. I'm not your friend. Like, go get it checked. But it was just this thing. I was like, I mean, I'm cool with anything. I'll talk about how. But I was just like, that's a bit of a strange thing. But yeah, at the same time, I was like, I watched this porn the other day, and it made me feel kind of like gross, and I don't know why I watched it. You know, then I think you'd just be like, why are you telling me this, you fucking weirdo? Yeah, porn is a weird thing. But I think it comes from like, you know, I think it's probably a weird English thing. I think it's probably partly to do with our sort of upbringing and the fact that porn's kind of considered, you know, faux pas. I think it's probably the most times I've said porn in one
it
day.
It is a lot, yeah. To be honest. Saying the word porn a lot let's do something to you, I think.
I would be fascinated to meet him.
It is a weird thing that everyone's agreed on. Everyone, not everyone, but, you know, it's like I'm sure there are people who don't watch porn at all.
Mm-hmm.
No, obviously, like men-wise, I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure I have no concept how much porn women watch at all.
I assume they definitely watch it, but I don't know what it's probably not the stuff I watch.
This is the weird thing, though. It's like some women I know who have been complete, you know, slags in the bedroom, and then you talk about porn, they've never watched it. They never watch it regularly at all. And like fucking, it's just something they've only ever watched with a boyfriend or something.
Yeah.
You know, and you think that's weird. I would have thought you'd have been this way because you watched porn.
Yeah, you've learned it from porn.
Yeah. So why are you like this? Were you abused? What the fuck's the deal? You know, but yeah. And then you get other maybe women who are kind of a bit more repressed, you know, or kind of not as like hot or something, you know, like, and maybe they watch a lot of porn. And they're dirtier, they're a lot filthier than other women because they're like, they know they haven't got the looks maybe to like, you know, to charge men, if you know what I mean, a higher price, if you know what I mean, metaphorically speaking.
Have you got any idea when you're going back to work or anything?
Yeah, well, the weird thing is, I was speaking to, I just found out that my supervisor has like changed jobs, so he's not there anymore. And he was like, you know, fucking. So I was a bit like nervous at the beginning of the week. That I was like, oh shit, something's going on at work. I'm gonna lose my job. But I've spoken to someone else. Apparently, it's not as bad. So I think I'm just gonna like, I don't know, I'm just gonna hang around for another couple of weeks. Just see what happens with the whole lockdown. I'm not convinced that they're going to. I'm not convinced that they unlock it fully. Yeah, there's a lot of talk.
I'm not convinced we're done with coronavirus. To be honest, I'm not 100%.
I think it's coming back, mate. They're talking. I've heard a lot of stories about more spikes. Just don't know if they can keep people locked up this long anymore.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
I think if they went back on it now, I think people would go.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think people would have any say. Like, I don't think they'd have any say in locking people down now, because locking people down is a choice. We just didn't realize that at first. Whereas now, I think they'll just be like, get fucked. We're not doing it. Oh, it's just gone over 500,000 deaths.
With all the protests,
3,000.
And all right, police have attended some protests, but then you'll have all these like illegal parties and stuff, and then police are coming and dealing with them. It's like kind of. Can they risk keeping people locked down anymore, even in the face of people dying?
I don't think so. I don't think they can afford to. I don't think the economy can afford to. I think they're just like, so many people are going to die from poverty in the next year that we just need to let people out and let them die. I will just blame it on coronavirus, but it's just like the economy's so fucked that we're going to have to like, you know, oh, well, we shouldn't lock down, open up so much. I don't think anyone who's in politics now is going to come out of it well. Like, I can't see any party like getting re-elected in like the worst places, because it's like,
monumentally. I think as well, like I think they've realised they've lost control. You know, that people are just it's civil disobedience across the world right now. The fucking grip on control is so loose right now that I think they've got to be very careful in what decisions they make from now on in the next few months. This could tip over.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Actually, that's good. That's a good way of looking at it. I think, you know, we should control these protests, or we should do this, or we should lock down people. It's like, I don't think anyone's going to listen. And then what are you going to do? Like, and the more force the government pushes to change something, the more people are going to push back against it, and you're just going to create more controversy and more fucking blah 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 blah. A new movement. So yeah, I just think they need to kind of just be like, we'll just let them get on with it.
It's like,
and we'll blame it on something.
It's like Liverpool winning the league the other day. Like, that was an interesting social like experiment, because basically the entire city just fucking went out on the streets and just was like, fuck off.
Oh really?
And the police just basically
just partying.
Have you not seen any things on the news or anything?
No, I'll have a look.
Basically, like, I mean, within minutes, like the entirety, all the streets around Anfield were like just packed, and like there was nothing going on at Anfield, for fuck's sake. There was no one playing there or anything. Liverpool weren't even playing. It was Man City.
Yeah, it wasn't like they were playing.
City was playing Chelsea, and then Chelsea beat City, and that was it. We won the league. And so like within minutes, the streets were just packed full of people around Anfield, just thousands of people, just like all shoulder to shoulder, just like drinking and looking whatever,
partying,
pissed up, and like the entire pier head, but down by the Liver buildings, was just thousands of people there, just with flares and just shooting fireworks.
Oh yeah, I've got some pictures. Yeah,
someone shot a firework at the Liver building, and it like hit like a window and then set the place on fire.
Fucking hell, Jesus! Yeah, it's like a fucking festival.
Someone was fucking stabbed. There was a couple of stabbings as well. Like someone was stabbed just in the middle of the road. Like, yeah,
fucking Liverpool.
But mate, this is what happens when like millions of people go out to celebrate this thing in the middle of a race riot, a pandemic. It's like, what do you expect? There's probably, and plus add Evertonians into that mix who hate us. So I'm not surprised someone got stabbed.
Yeah. Mancunians and all sorts. I mean, there'll be people coming from far and wide to get involved in that shit.
There'll be Man United fans in Liverpool, no doubt. Half the city's Evertonian anyway. Plus there's a big, like, Asian, black, contingent of people in the city. It's race tension straight away. Plus there's a pandemic, so there's people angry that people are going out in general during a pandemic.
Plus there's poor areas of Liverpool where people are, looking to... these pictures, it looks fucking wild.
It's insane, isn't it? But like, and this
it just looks like a party.
Yeah, looks like Glastonbury or something, doesn't it? Like a proper festival. And and so this was like almost like a social, not experiment really, but a social scenario where like the police just had no choice but to just do nothing. Because what are you going to do? You haven't got enough manpower to deal with the entire city just going fucking apeshit for one night. You better just leave them to it, and just clean up the mess afterwards. Which is basically what happened.
Yeah, pretty much. That's basically your choice, isn't it?
And what a time!
Well, that's the thing. I think with all these
time for something like this to happen, though. Yeah, go on.
It's just like with all these protests and stuff. At the end of the day, it's like they're already out there in each other's face and stuff. The more you try and suppress it, the more you're going to encourage that to happen. So it's like, that's fucking crazy. Yeah, those pictures.
What's the best scenario there? It's like, I mean, literally, they're like, well, they're celebrating, so the best thing to do is just leave them to do whatever, because at best they're gonna they're not angry. You know what I mean? That's the best part of it. They're not angry, so whatever damage happens is just whatever happens. So the best thing you do is leave them. Whereas like if people are like angry, smashing stuff up, then you're like, we've got to do something, otherwise this could get worse. You never know.
Plus, it's one of them things. It's like the purge. You know what I mean? It's like they get get it all out of the system. They have a big party. Everyone leaves with a slightly higher emotion than they turned up with, because they've had 3 months of hell, and now they get to celebrate this. And like I say, if they went in there and tried to break it up, it's just going to cause animosity, and it's going to leave them with a negative feeling, so on and so on. Yeah, it looks like a pretty fucking fun party, to be honest. I'd be up for that. That sounds fun.
I didn't go. Couldn't be asked. This is it. Won it, and then I was like, I thought I could hear all. I mean, honestly, I thought I'd forgotten the match was on. A great Liverpool fan. I mean, I knew it was on that night, but I was doing something else, and then I think I was watching Dark or whatever the fuck I was doing, and and then like I realised, oh shit, the City match had been on, and then I heard all this screaming outside and like fireworks and stuff going off in the distance, and like I thought, fucking hell, the race riots have come.
You thought it hit. You thought it finally hit.
It was weird though, because obviously I'm not in Liverpool, and so I'm quite a distance away from Liverpool. But there's obviously Liverpool fans in this area, so they were screaming and shouting and that, like in the houses, and but I could hear all the fireworks in Liverpool, and it was like it literally sounded like a war had started in Liverpool. It was insane.
It's fucking crazy. Nice. We haven't had anything like that here as far as I'm aware, but I wouldn't know because I haven't been outside for months and months and months outside my little grotto.
I mean, I'd love to have gone out in the car and driven over, but I'm like, well, what's the fucking point? What am I going to do? Just go and stand in the street and fucking do nothing.
Yeah, it's one thing if you meet with people and having a celebration and getting hammered, but at the same time, well, also it's one of them things. It's you're not a die-hard football fan. It's not something you haven't been in without sports for 3 months and just been like, oh my god.
That's it as well. I don't really care that much anymore. I mean, I'm happy it's happened and stuff, and I was watching football before all this ended. But it's more of a thing I used to do with my dad, so I'm not really going anywhere. I'm not going to go over there and stand with all these scousers.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's what I mean. That's the kind of chaos that's happening just from just a celebration like that. I mean, I'm surprised it ended, to be honest. That celebration, it only lasted one night, really.
Yeah, but I think also, it's like say it's different because it's not like they're fighting for anything. It's just going out and have a party and then they're going to be hungover the next day and chilling out, aren't they? Like that's the difference. It's the difference between that and a protest summit. Is everyone in Liverpool just got shit faced for one night? They had a big old bender. That's what they needed. That's what they need to get out of the system. Whereas some people are going to need the next 10 years of battling to get whatever it is out of the system. I don't know. I just don't want to get involved in it. I just feel very separate from the world at the moment. I feel like I'm observing more than anything else. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm not kind of really part of it at the moment. Once I go back to work, it'll be a bit more, but I still got to work and then come home and, hopefully eventually go climbing or whatever. But yeah, I think at the moment it's just like the world's just going on without me, which is fine. I'm perfectly happy with that.
I do feel it, and I'm watching stuff, and you're watching things happen on. People are going mental. I'm just watching a video here, and there's some girl, she looks like she's probably about 16, in a supermarket, and in America, obviously, and she's been told to obviously someone said to her about not wearing a mask, and she's got a trolley full of stuff, and she's just having a meltdown because someone asked her to wear a mask, and she's throwing all the stuff out of the trolley just all over the floor like a fucking maniac. And I'm just like, it's so I'm not being funny. I would love to flip out the way people are flipping out at the moment and get away with it.
You do flip out like that sometimes.
Fuck off, have I? I have never done anything like this at a supermarket like this. I've got away with it.
No, not in a supermarket. Not in a supermarket. No, you're right. You're right. You do it in your own home.
That's what I mean. In public, I pick my spots, But this is what I mean. It's like I would love to do stuff like this, but if I did stuff like this, people would be terrified. And why these little fucking stupid girls are getting to flip out like this?
Well, that's it. It's because you're somebody that needs to be taken seriously, where these people aren't. You know what I mean? Like some of these people, some of these people are like betas, and they're like, oh shit, that beta's flipping out. You know what I mean? So they're just like, oh well, beta's flipping out. Whereas an alpha flips out, then like shit, something's going down. We need to people are scared.
Call the police.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they can't deal with it. Whereas some little geek flips out, and they're like, oh bless, look at him getting all angry.
This is the problem, I think, with all these protests and riots is they're going to hit a point. Most of them, when you look at close on these protests, it's a lot of them are just white women, and you think, I'm sorry, but at some point, the alphas are going to turn up, and you're just going to get crushed. When the police turn up and they're just melting down and panicking because they don't know how to deal with hands-on violence. It's like there's something that never occurred to them.
That's one thing I found quite interesting. There's all these Black Lives protesters, Black Lives Matter protesters that are like white people, and then they get treated like that, and they're like, "This is disgusting." I'm like, "What the fuck were you here for in the first place if you didn't know this going on?" You're just getting treated like the fucking guys that you're fucking protesting with. That's the whole point. You fucking pussies. If you're not gonna you're like, "Oh, we'll help you because we're white." I'm like, "Yeah, good luck with that." You're playing by different rules now, motherfucker. It's like your white privilege ain't gonna work. But yeah, it's it does make me laugh when I see that stuff. Yeah, I would never get ever and fucking scream unless I thought it was going to be a fight. Even if it was cop, I'd just be like, I'm not going to get like that. And people like, fuck you like that. They won't talk to me like that. I don't care if they were a cop or not. I'd fucking break them. Or at least I'd give it a shot, That's
what I mean. There's so many videos I've seen recently of people saying things or doing stuff. And I'm just like, man, if they were doing that to me or in my vicinity, I would have planted them to the floor so quickly, and it would have just ended it, you know. And then I'd have moved on to the next person who was attacking me, like, you know, by then, like, and it's just, some people don't have a clue. And it's kind of weird. Like, I watched one, and there was a video of a woman like giving shit to two black police officers, you know, about, and she's a white woman, and the guy on the video filming it literally just says to her, like, you know, you're talking about racial violence to two black men. Do you not think that's a bit problematic? And she just like, yeah, she just turns around and just goes, actually, and just launches into this like pre-prepared tirade of like of the defense to that argument.
Well, I'm fighting for the greater good and stuff.
Yes. Clearly, it's been spread around her little Twitter circle of bellends. And like, that's their argument, because they've discussed, oh, what happens if someone says this to me? Well, someone said it the other day and I said this.
Yeah, it's like they planned it ahead of time, like how people are going to ask me about this thing. And like I say, I mean, if you're doing stuff for the right reasons or whatever, it's good. But I just don't think most of the reasons are correct. I think most people are doing it for either some sense of like fulfillment in themselves, whether I'm doing the right thing. Maybe they believe they're doing the right thing, but it's not to do the right thing. It's to feel better about themselves. It's like, well, at least I tried. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think they've spent a life.
I think there's definitely guilt.
I think they've spent time, maybe, but I think they've spent time looking at things on the internet. They've been fucking in their like classes at university writing essays, which is an absolutely brilliant way to get someone to think a different way, is to get them to write essays. I'm like, yeah, and I just think they've got no revolution or no, you know, like civil rights movement and all these things. They want their generation to mean something. It means, and instead of just being Twitter, you know, and I think it's just overflown in them now, and they're just running around the streets.
Yeah, but I think there's also an aspect of we haven't had anything great to achieve.
We were fine with it
within our lifetime. You know, I mean, there's been wars and stuff, but there's not been any space race or.
Yeah, but we were fine with that.
Yeah, but were we?
Not really, but
no, not really. But that's what I mean. But we didn't have Twitter.
There's nothing. Yeah, but there's nothing that's going to. Even if it did, I don't think there's anything that's really going to make me go out on the street.
I'll go so far as to say, if someone was having a protest about something that I believed in when I was at uni, I'd have done it.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Like,
maybe.
It's one of them things, like, you got to think of it like not you now. You know, it's not you now that we're talking about. It's not, there's not a lot of 40-year-olds fucking men out on the streets battling for whatever.
Plus also, if 4 or 5 of your friends, like if you and a few other people were doing it, or like, you know, or a bird you were into, you'd be like, oh, fuck it, yeah, I'll go along.
Yeah, fucking right. And, you know, you get to get in some cop's face and the rules don't apply, so they can't fuck you up, you know. I'm just going, well, we can do it now. Like, if I do this in a month from now, tell a cop to go fuck himself and blah, 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 then I'm going to get my head kicked in. But if I do it now, I'm on TV. There's a camera on me. Like I say, it's just a weird, I can't quite get my head around it because...
It's ego, man. I can't get my head. I can't get my head away from the fact that it's all ego. It's a lot of these people. They just want. They want to have been there. They want to have their Twitter prove they've been there, because Twitter and social media matters so much to them that in the future people will be able to point and say, "Look, you weren't there doing anything," and that they think that's going to matter in the future.
But I'd go so far as to say, though, that's everything, though. I think anybody that's on, like, for example, like you see in all these Black Lives Matter protests and stuff like that.
Is it fear? Is it fear of missing out?
Well, I think, no, but I think it's just like if you look at the people that are tweeting, because there's lots of people, like Timcast we were talking about last time, like that. There's people tweeting about it, but I'm like, they're doing the same thing. Sure. They're trying to get fame by having their opinion and stuff. They're just doing it in a different way. They're doing it in a slightly more accessible, slightly more thing. But it's like, you know, like both sides of the arguments are using the same tools to achieve it. Like, they're both doing the same things. Like, people like, oh, they're fucking idiots. They're just going to shout. And I think like there's definitely good sides and bad sides to both of them. But it's just fucking crazy. Like, no one's voice is getting through. Like, even from, like I say, I've got like certain things that I watch, and I've always tried to analyze 2 or 3 different things. I can't even get a read on which side is which side anymore. Like, is that a right wing, a left wing thing, or are they for it or against it? Or, you know, it's hard to follow humans anymore. Like, what are we even arguing about? Some of them sort of things. I don't know. It's just, again, it's. I don't think it's my war. There'll be a resolution to it, and we'll have to deal with the outcome. But I've not engaged in it, so I'll just have to deal with the outcome. But only in the same way that I deal with fucking politics. It's like I don't really get involved. It never really affects me that I notice.
Like, I don't think there's any, like I said, I mean, obviously now I don't think there's anything that would get me to go out on the streets and protest. I might take part in like a fucking armed revolution of some sort. You know what I mean?
So you're telling me if a cop killed me, you wouldn't go out and protest?
Would I? No, I wouldn't.
Lives matter.
I don't see why it wouldn't bring you back to life. So I don't see any purpose in doing that.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Now, if we were in the middle of like some kind of armed revolution and like a cop shot you dead and I had access to weapons and other people who I worked with, you know, I would go, let's fucking storm that police station. Let's go punish her on these kids.
Punish this motherfucker. I don't know. I think there's something that could bring out. I think in the next couple of years, I think you'll be surprised what could pull you out to the streets. I think it'll be interesting because I think there's going to be such weird politics and stuff, and I think we could definitely go down either significantly right or significantly left-wing politics, like all the way. I think we could have like a full-on dictatorship, or we could have full-on fucking. Well, it could be a dictatorship. It's going to be a dictatorship either way. It's just either going to be like you have to call us all, you know, by our fucking whatever.
I think there's enough people who are aware of the dangers of this on both sides, you know, and with enough smart heads. And I think eventually the people complaining and the people reacting will get smacked enough times by, you know, metaphorically or physically, that they'll stop and realize the errors, or they'll get old enough to realize the errors potentially.
See, I agree with that, and I think politics has shown that like there's precedent for that.
Yeah.
But I also think there's an aspect of it could be a party going, let's let the left wing win, or let's let the right wing win, in order to prove a point. So when they fuck it up, we'll take over afterwards. And I think there's also people that are like, oh, we'll just go in on an extreme thing because we can get like a Trump type thing. We'll go really extreme because in 4 years we'll get out and we'll have made up whatever we need to do. We can get our ideas in, we can get our money, we can just jump in, fuck the world up and leave. There's definitely going to be them people because like we can get ours in the meantime and we'll be fine when the fucking world burns to the ground. I think there's definitely those parties as well.
This cancel culture might transform maybe into we're going after those people now, you know, kind of potentially, because I really don't know why in this day and age these people haven't been blown up to the point that they can't walk the streets anymore or do it or operate in business because everyone's just knows everything they're into.
Well, it's like Epstein though. If he makes people money, they don't give a fuck. They're like, there's a cost, there's a price, and everyone's got a price. It's like, you know, if he made people an extra £1 million a year, they might be like, yeah, fuck that guy. He's, you know, I can make that myself. But if they're making it like they're changing life, if he's changing lives, and you know, and again, it's like, you know, who throws the first stone? How many of them people? How many billionaires do you think are squeaky clean?
Not one. Yeah.
Not one. Not one. Yeah. I don't care if it's Bill Gates or fucking Bezos or Elon Musk. I'm sure they've got skeletons in the closet, probably literal ones. But so yeah, I just think, you know, they're all like warlords, and they just don't tell the people we're warlords. It's like that. It's like the agreement of supervillains. They're like, you know, don't tell them. And if you go down, I'm going to let you go down, and I'm not going to like. No, they're not a team. You know what I mean? It's like they're not like humans. It's just like they're all just like, well, you know, when you go down, I'm going to let you go down, and you know, fuck you. I'm not helping. Because I'm not getting pulled into it. I'm going to stay out of it, and I might even like help you go down so that I can take more of the pie. But then I don't know. I'm just a 35-year-old, 6-year-old.
What I don't get about this world though is it's like when you watch a conspiracy thing or something, and like they'll literally go, "Here's documents," and they'll show you documents and things proving certain things. Some things look quite cut and dry, and even some of this, you know, child sex stuff, and you think, don't understand why this information isn't out on Twitter and people know about it, and then they're just being arrested. And you know, why do these things not happen?
Well, I think it's probably to do with like the people that are making the documentaries. They're not the law, you know. They haven't they've found evidence, but it's not like they've got warrants to search places and find documents and shit like that. It's like you can prove something exists, but if you can't prove the origin of that thing, then it's inadmissible. So I'm sure there's lots of stuff where they're like, this happened and this happened, and we've got photo evidence. We've got like, a lot of it's like witness testaments and statements from like victims and stuff like that, survivors or whatever. And a lot of it's just like them saying that. It's like, well, until they can prove it, it's all just. But then, I mean, it's irrelevant when they go to prison or not. That in public opinion, that's all the people care about. Oh, it's dealt with because I don't like him anymore. I'm not going to watch him. And then for most people, it's like it's not about the follow up. It's like this Prince Andrew thing. It's like, how are they not? How is he not in prison?
Not been followed up?
And it's like people just like, well, I agree he's guilty. Yeah, it's just not been followed up. Now they're like, we're requesting an interview with him and blah blah blah. I'm like, fuck that guy. If that guy was just if that guy was me, I'd be in prison awaiting trial for whatever they decide. Or I don't question on multiple occasions, and I've probably had to give a statement and all that sort of shit. Whereas he don't have to do anything because he's royalty. Whereas you know what I mean. And it's one of them things where the because it's all political, like, oh, if we just take him away from America or whatever, over to America and stuff, like, we'll fall out with the Queen. Tough shit. Like, how is she any different from anyone else? Yeah, she's got more power, but what's she gonna fucking do about it?
Well, it feels like a lot of these people potentially, like Prince Andrew, has he just gone to like some random island somewhere which is outside of people's jurisdiction, and he's got his own security force, so no one's coming to get him?
Does he have diplomatic immunity? At least don't want to tell people.
Yeah, that's it. I imagine he would, essentially. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, like that could be. Like a diplomatic immunity. I'm sure, like, it's murder and sexual offences don't count underneath it. But how the fuck do we know? Maybe they're just like, well, there's fuck all we can do about him. So even if we proved it right, like, it's not going to achieve anything. And if anything, we're going to look bad for not arresting him then. So just let it eventually fade out once the rioting and the corona and the.
It does feel though like there is some dirty secret though that a lot of people in the world they just don't, not saying, and they don't move on it, because they know, well, there's nothing we can do about certain things because of the secret that we can't talk about. That like it's controlled by these people and we're all locked into it. There's no getting out. Or your kids get fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's.
You get turned into a lizard.
Yeah, and it's not like. Yeah.
Not like what?
I was just thinking, like, you never hear about celebrities' kids getting, like, like the Aiden Smiths or Tom Hanks' kid, or like celebrities who like their kids were celebrities getting into it and then them being abused. Like the A-listers that like their kids and their family get into, whether it's Miley Cyrus or fucking anybody. It's like you don't really hear about them being the stories of it.
Suppose they'd protect their own kids then, wouldn't they, from it?
Of course, yeah, but they must know it exists. And did they do it in the first place, or are they the instigators? And they're like, well, that's my kid, so they've got carte blanche. This is all made up.
I reckon there's some Hollywooders that they get where they're going without it, kind of sometimes. Just like like I said, a Ryan Reynolds, someone like that. You can imagine he probably got there just on his talent and good looks anyway.
Yeah, whimsicalness.
And you've sort of seen his career, build up. It's like it hasn't just all of a sudden he's in a massive blockbuster and he's the big star, and it's like that's when I get suspicious when some of them just blow up like that out of nowhere. And like I was saying, like a Sam Worthington, he blew up with like fucking Avatar and a few of the Clash of the Titans, a few other things, and then all of a sudden it's like he just disappeared.
Yeah, he did.
It's like, did he go to a party and go, no, I'm not fucking that kid? And then that's it. He's never invited back to anything ever again.
Fuck knows. Yeah, there must be stories like that where just like, I'm not doing it. I don't know. I suppose I don't understand the mentality of like somebody that would have like pedophiles and stuff, but anybody that has a hobby, let's call it, or an obsession or whatever, a drive to do something that is wrong, how they convince other people to do it. I suppose it's like if you meet somebody new and you're like, you want to know if they smoke weed or not, you don't. Well, I mean, nowadays you just come out and go, do you smoke weed? But like, say 20 years ago, you'd be like, so you ever smoked, or do you ever, like, what do you do when you like want to chill out and stuff? Like you find a way around it.
You tiptoe around it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure people that do all this stuff are very versed in that kind of
code
subcontext of a conversation to try and find and read stuff. Like. Yeah. Oh, well, code words, obviously. Yeah. True. Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
But they have little things that they say that they know.
Yeah, but like some point, somebody has to do it for the first time. You know what I mean? Like there'll be people that have done that sort of awful shit, or whether it's, or even like with these producing stuff that try and convince these girls, it's like they're not just going to go up to them and go, "So I'm going to fuck you for this movie." They'll be like, let's go have a drink, and maybe you want to spend some time with me.
It'd be a culture, won't it, that built up? Be a culture like with like I can't imagine Harvey Weinstein started like that. I bet it was just like going for drinks and fucking doing things, and then maybe once in a while he'd shag one that felt legit, and then other times it felt like maybe I pushed it a little bit too far, and then eventually.
I think he was a super fucking
True,
awkward dude.
true.
The
True.
weird
He's a fucking
interviews you hear
creepy
from him.
horrible.
He seems like angry and really dominant in some areas, and just super weird and awkward. Like, did you hear that recording of the girl where he was like, "Just come back into my hotel room. I promise I won't do anything again." But he was just like this sniveling little fucking It was just this weird little fucking sniveling child. It was like almost begging her. It was just like, this dude gets laid ever. Like, I'm not surprised he has to fucking abuse people. He's a fucking freak. He's a troll. He's a troll. Yeah, I said.
So it's like I'm not surprised. But like I said, when he was younger, potentially he might have got more birds on his own.
Perhaps, especially with power. Yeah.
But it would have become a culture where, like, eventually he just got so blasé with it that it became, like you said, what it became. Him just whole culture of it. And I can imagine it happening a lot that in Hollywood, where there's people who are on certain stages of that spectrum, and like people who are involved, like you said, a lot of people involved in it and like working for them, and they're just the PA, but they're working and they're doing the job and getting people to come around and grooming technically, and then they're involved in it, like the Epstein thing.
Yeah, I suppose it's like that. Yeah, I suppose if you're someone's agent, then you can gauge people over years and years and years, and then be like, "Oh, I'm going to introduce you to Harvey Weinstein." You know what I mean? Like, so they already know that like this person's probably a good candidate for your creepy ass shit, and they're so eager to become famous, and they'll probably do anything for it, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, you could go work for them now or something. Yeah.
I don't know like that, but I still maintain that it might just be a lot of fucked up individuals. Like the idea of fame and fortune and wealth people like.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I also think like considering there's stuff about kid fucking going on, like that's undisputed. So I think.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like they always form rings because, like any criminal empire, really, you're doing something that's illegal, and you need to keep it secret, and you need help to do it, and other people who are interested in the same thing will help you, and because you're all into illegal stuff, so it's kind of like it's like that, isn't it? It's like the mafia. It's like Donnie Darko, isn't it? Where he's like, this guy's he's a friend of ours, or he's a friend of mine.
A friend of ours, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like he's a friend of ours, then he's a made man, and he's a friend of mine.
He's an acquaintance, yeah.
It'd be like that.
Yeah,
it'd be like that. What were you saying?
Yeah, that's true. I was just saying that I think Hollywood in itself is finished. I think with this, but also I've been seeing stuff recently where they're saying they don't film because the tax brackets are so high that they tend to film either in location in different countries or in like studios in other places in the country because it's so expensive to film in Hollywood. And I think
get tax breaks in certain places to film, don't they? Like Vancouver's quite a tax break, I think.
But even if you're trying to rent a studio from Universal or rent a warehouse from some guy where you can build whatever you want, if you're not part of Universal, you rent if you want, won't you? Because it's like independent films and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think also with modern technology and the way stuff can be made, you don't need to be in Hollywood. You don't need to be making fucking Infinity Wars. You know what I mean? Like there's millions of films that could be made in a sound studio anywhere in the world or in a fucking any place.
Well, is it potentially then why Hollywood is a place still is like because of like rings? Maybe it's like they like to be in mansions in one location where they can spread around.
I think it's more to do with like the romance. Like people go to America to go to Hollywood to make it. You know what I mean? It's it's an idea now more than anything. It's the American dream personified in this.
Yeah.
And like as far as I understand it, Hollywood is like a fucking shithole anyway. You know what I mean? It's like you don't want to live in Hollywood. It's like fast paced and everyone fucking hates each other and everyone's trying to stand on each other to get to where they want to be. And it's it's not. It's like it's all tourism and it's all fake. It's all Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like none of it has substance. I've not been.
Interestingly, did you see the thing about some of these protests? It's like they've been basically burning LA,
right.
most of the last couple of days, like just going through loads of suburbs and all this shit, and they've actually gone up to like Beverly Hills and like into the Hollywood Hills,
All right.
all the rich. They're like literally just walking protests through, like burning things and doing shit and kicking stuff over and whatever. Like, you know, and all the Hollywood stars are now like ringing the police and shit and
Fucking
stuff
right,
like, you know,
yeah.
because now they're shitting on like what happened to all your fucking like bailout money, you know? And
Yeah, go on.
we support George.
Go out there and sing fucking like "Believe" to them or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah. So, like, you know, I thought either way you took responsibility, so it should be you they come for, because you're the ones who've admitted that you were the ones who were doing racism.
Straight
They've
up.
admitted it. You know, we didn't.
Yeah,
You know,
man.
that's what I mean. So,
That's
anything
fucked up.
fucking what's her face? Kristen Bell or whatever, and some of those other fucking Aaron Johnson. Aaron
Paul.
Yeah. Okay, I bet you he's like phoning the fucking police when they're turning up.
Yeah,
down his street.
right.
Took responsibility though, mate.
That's the thing though, but also that they have taken responsibility and that is fair. But I also think it's like the problem with the protest is they don't know whose side who's on. They don't give a shit. The individuals of that, like, it's not like they're one collective. They're just a group of randoms. And so some people are going there to burn it. Some people, like, there'll be people in the Black Lives Matter that hate white people. Like that's just there's that will be there. Like in any, if there was a like a fucking any movement, there's people that hate the other people enough to be like, fuck them, they should all die. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing with any war. And there's people there that are in between. There's people there that are actually like, we all need to live together. But it's like, there'll be people going up there just like, yeah, fuck celebrities, fuck all of them. Like, what have I live in a fucking flat with my whole family, and they live in a 2,000 square fucking, I don't know how big they are, fucking massive fucking mansion with a helicopter pad and a massive place with a swimming pool and an underground garage and fucking waiters and like servants and shit. So yeah, it's a very, like I say, it's disconnected. And it's disingenuous to say like that whole, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe they do feel actually guilty. Maybe they have suppressed, black people in their industry and stuff, and maybe they haven't stepped up when they should have, and maybe they do feel that way. But I don't know. It's just a weird thing.
There is a weirdness to it because like a lot of them are saying these things, and going, we take responsibility for everything and we did and blah blah blah. And a lot of the companies, all these movie studios coming out saying like, we support Black Lives Matter. And it's like, you're the fucking bastards that haven't been giving them the jobs. So don't be you know what I mean? That's why you're so quick to come out and say shit, because you're the fuckers that aren't doing the thing. You're the ones who are oppressing them, like, not us. Don't tell us to fucking take responsibility and be nice and all this shit.
It's weird because
give them a job.
I saw recently on Netflix they've got like a Black Lives Matter series, so it's just films made with black actors or made directed by black people, and some of the films are like relevant. There's some documentaries, there's like that Killer Mike documentary and some interesting stuff on there, and you're like, that's quite good. And then there's stuff that's just shit films, you know what I mean? Just like it just happens to have black people in it, but you're like, so now you're pushing this agenda, now you're monetizing this movement. You're saying, oh, actually, like, people are behind this, so we'll put in a little bit there that they can be like, oh, they'll be drawn into watching this thing which we made ourselves. And undoubtedly there'll be loads of like opposing bias soon. There'll be lots of black only films and stuff like that, but I don't give a shit.
What I've noticed on YouTube is, like, if you go on like your normal like fucking on a browser on your PC, it'll come up and have recommendations on the top, and then it'll have a section where it's like news, and then there'll be another section just where it'll be literally whatever the hot thing is, like
LGBT
Lives Matter, and it'll just have and it'll just have loads of videos of like the banging home whatever point they're trying to make, like, and it's just kind of like, this is my YouTube. It's like, it shouldn't be. I didn't ask for that for a start.
Yeah.
And like, why are you promoting an opinion anyway? You shouldn't be doing anything really. You should just be a platform that people upload videos to and they promote their opinion, not you. It's your opinion, YouTube. You're a fucking company.
Yeah, but that's with anything like that. With anything on YouTube, like it's just stuff to me which I'm constantly like, why on earth? For example, because currently on there, but I'm like, not a chance that I've ever been into that at all, and none of the things I have on here would suggest that. Yeah, I did see that there'll be a drive for that soon. And that's why I think all these like companies coming out, because they're like, oh, we're going to want people to work with us. We're going to want to be the face of this. Let's get ahead of it, sort of thing.
I think they know that either if it's Me Too or Black Lives, or Black people in general, I think they know that they're going to be coming after them, and they're trying to get ahead of it and try and look like they're not.
Or they want to get in, like, so that even if they get kind of found out about it. Say again?
Something I can't. It's this fucking connection has been so bad tonight, mate. I can't. Can you understand me? Because I can't fucking. You're cutting out literally every sentence.
Yeah, no, I can understand you.
See, I couldn't. Literally, I couldn't hear the entire sentence that you said. Then you said, "Yeah, I could understand."
Oh, right. I don't know why.
It's fucking horseshit.
It's garbage.
It's been like this all night. The voice connection thing is just on like one bar for some reason. I don't know why it's so low. I don't know what's going on. It's been shit.
It's garbage.
Unacceptable. It's garbage.
That's it, mate.
It is though.
First they isolate us, and then they cut off the internet. That's what they're going for.
I don't know. I'm trying to. I want to get stuff up as a podcast and just at least start putting stuff up, but it's just such poor quality. Like you said, we're not. You know what I mean? And fucking. Never. Just put it up.
Yeah. We'll get there eventually. Like I said, I think we should do it face to face anyway. I think that makes more sense to try and do that. It's just doing it consistently.
Yeah, that's the thing. It would require being near each other more, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We'll figure it out. All the world will burn before we do, one or the other.
I think that's the weird thing. Yeah, I've sort of lost a lot of motivation for the future at the moment in a weird way. Like, I've got ideas and plans and things I want to do still, and obviously I'm not really going for anything because I'm not 100% convinced the world's going to need any of this shit.
Yeah, but I think the problem with that is that if you get to a point where you realise that you could have done it, you're already too late.
Oh, yeah.
It makes more sense to be proactive and then hope for the best.
Well, I suppose as well, that's the other thing. I've thought as well, with all these people getting cancelled and all this stuff happening, it's like there could be literally like loads of room for like new podcasts and new people, new internet personalities, just because all the older ones end up getting cancelled because they were too early and didn't expect this cancel culture to come about, and they've been just axed now. And then all of a sudden, it took people like us who sat back and watched the, sort of the temperature, gauge the temperature, and then fucking came in it later. So
see, I also think there's an aspect of no one's going to get as big as the original ones. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that the industry will let them now. They realize that people like Joe Rogan have too much power.
Saturation.
Yeah, and that's it as well. Yeah, you know what I mean? They're just like, well, why do we let? Like, I mean, like with fucking actors or something, you don't get them on every day because it's like, especially start getting B-listers and let it fill up like that, and then they become famous because of TV series or whatever. The whole world's changing its dynamic. We're in flux. We're very much in flux at the moment, I think.
I think that definitely is the feeling. Yeah, the flux is going on right now. Feels like the waves are very choppy, and we're not. It's changing into something else. Society. That's what I think so fascinating by it, and that way everyone's so engaged right now because they can sense this is something's happening now.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it definitely feels like we live in a specific moment, like in a time of something, of some sort of change or adaptation, or we'll go back to it.
Yeah, like imagine if we're in like our solar system has just passed into like a weird shift of energy, like section of the universe or something, and like there's a solar flare that's been going on since like January or whatever, and it's changing the influx of time, or like I said before, the probability scales, and it's making things happen and get out of this year, and we're like, fucking hell, actually science has just discovered that like 3 years has just gone by. We've actually gone around the earth like the sun 3 times, to us it looks like once, something.
Maybe we'll never know, or at least Not right now.
That's why everything, so much happened in one go, because it was like, wow.
Yeah, just all the interesting bits felt like all the filler was taken out. It was just like, yeah, big epic moment in history. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the new normal as well. I was thinking this the other day. It's like maybe chaos is like we'll just get used to chaos, like this level of chaos, like we got used to chaos when the internet first came out. I think I
was thinking that.
If you think about,
I was
100 years ago, the amount of chaos then compared to now. If you came in from 100 years ago, you'd be like, this is just too much all the time. But we're used to it. I say now, 3 months ago.
I don't know. Well, this is it. It's like, I mean, we were used to it at the beginning of the year, and now I'm not used to it because there's been a good couple of times over the past few weeks, like where I've been like, I don't know how much more I can take of this in a weird way. Like, it's like, it's too chaotic, the world, and it's feeling very, very heavy, and it feels like, don't know if the world can take much more of it.
I don't think we'll have a choice. I think it's one of them things where if it continues like this, it continues like this. Like there's nothing that can change it.
We'll just sort of acclimatize.
I think we would. I think we will. I think especially this year. I think by the end of this year we'll know, because I think like the election and everything else is going. I think it's just like it's going to be so insane that I think people just get used to like normal people just be like, yeah, that's going on over there. They'll be able to kind of compartmentalize it. That's happening in America, so I don't have to worry about that.
Scary actually to think that is coming still, that election, because
yeah,
it's like it does feel like fucking hell, we haven't even got to that yet, and that's like Endgame. That's like Avengers Endgame. That shit.
Well, that election was going to be insane, regardless. Like even if 2020 went normal, that was going crazy.
This is it right now. We're in the middle of like Captain America Civil War or something, and like it's like we still got to get to like Infinity War and Endgame, and like we're halfway through the Marvel universe, and it's chaos already.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, this election is still to come, and it feels like that's what it's all building to in a weird way, and that's going to be the catalyst, that explosion that changes things.
Potentially, yeah. Potentially that could be the end.
This month is taking ages, though. I've just thought that as well, because when it first started, we were like, God, it's 6 months in. We're only 6 months in. It feels like ages ago that, and it's only a month ago.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because this month's had so much happen. Yeah, exactly. And also, like, we're both kind of getting ready to kind of some way at some point step back into it. So it's like that kind of slowing everything down, enjoying it more. But yeah, it does. It does feel like a lot has happened. A lot has happened this last month. It has feel like I think the weird thing I think is this month feels longer than the last 2 months before it. Like from lockdown to the start of this month feels shorter than this month to now. The start of this month to now, just for like the amount that's actually happened.
They said, look, we've discovered a black hole in our solar system.
Right.
And like, it was a micro black hole, like a miniature, micro-sized black hole for a while, for a long time, like, and it's just this year it's started to grow larger, and consume like part of like the asteroid belt or something. And like, it's actually affecting, this is what it is, it's affecting everything. Probability, everything. Maybe that's it. Black holes have been mentioned so much. I've seen so many things about black holes. What we were saying, I've seen an entire TV show about black holes.
Yeah.
It's been in loads of stuff I've seen recently, and like loads of documentaries and stuff. Yeah.
But there's also an aspect of that's what we look at. So it's another one of them things where you've got to take it with a pinch of salt, because it's like, it's definitely lizard people. It's like, well, if all you're doing all day is watching like theories on lizard people, it's one of them things. So
there'll be people in like the Black Lives Matter or this Me Too who think like, well, surely it's like someone's getting like raped out in space right now, because like, or there's a black guy getting shot by a cop on the moon right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's some people living constant like, this is happening right now as we speak. And you're like, it probably is, but we need to like, there's nothing we can do about it. We don't know who that person is. They exist in your mind at the moment. So I don't know. I don't know how to fix it.
Anyway.
I've given up all my ideas on how to fix it. I'm gonna let it flow past me like water. It'll be like water.
I'm just gonna let Cyberpunk 2077 come out.
Fucking, it's been delayed again though, hasn't it? It's not coming out till fucking November now. Fucking bullshit.
Oh, fucking hell, we're not going to get it then.
Right?
It's not coming out.
I know, I think they just went, just scrap it because the world's going to end before then. Yeah, I'm sure it's like November. Oh, let me have a look. Yeah, I saw the other day there was like something about it, and then they were like, oh yeah, they pushed the fucking release date back. And I'm like, get to fuck, you bastards.
What if they've discovered an asteroid headed to Earth and they've not announced it, but they've said it to enough people in the science industry that it's got out there now amongst people, and it's just something that people aren't talking about because they know it's a secret you've got to keep. Once you discover it, once you find it out, it's like you cannot tell anyone in the world. Like, you know, I mean, I know you're going to tell someone.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get it on Twitter. You can't do it because it will literally, the world will fucking explode.
Oh, if they said that now, people would just be like, fuck this, let's go outside and destroy everything.
But this is it.
Already writing.
Potentially, this is why we're rioting, because people aren't saying it. There's but it's enough people know now that like they're going crazy, or that people are sensing it.
Yeah, maybe.
And they know something's wrong. Something's wrong in the world, and people know about it, and it's making it goes crazy because there's a big secret that's being hidden. It's massive, and it's going to end us.
Or it's slowly being released, and that's what's driving people crazy. They're like, what the fuck? Because you've got to imagine how many normal people saw that Epstein thing and went, this happened? Oh my God. Didn't know that happened. I can't imagine there's many people that thought that. But yeah, 17th of September was the original day, so it's now 19th of November. Do you know why they did that? To coincide with the release of Assassin's Creed, to fuck with Ubisoft. Fuck Ubisoft.
Is this what you're talking about?
Cyberpunk. Yep, they changed it apparently.
It's February.
November. Sorry, it's out in November.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be September. Now it's in November. Yeah, it's before the end of the year, maybe. But yeah, apparently it's released the same week as the new Assassin's Creed, so it's just going to trounce across Assassin's Creed, unfortunately. I'm not complaining. I mean, if Ubisoft did things better, I'd be more like, oh, Ubisoft make good games, but they just like try and fucking skim you for money on every single game they have. So I think it's.
I mean, I'll definitely be getting Valhalla, but I'm not going to get it before fucking.
Well, I'll probably wait a year because you might as well wait a year and get everything together like you did with this one. Because that's the good game. Because I bought the game when it.
They're always a year ahead of schedule, aren't they? Like a year behind schedule.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, that's it.
Every game's an early access.
Well, that's it exactly. And also, when I got it, there was still like there weren't bits in the game that are in it now that are some of the best bits in the game. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I just think with Assassin's Creed, it's going to be the same as the other one, but with Vikings, it's going to be cool. But it's going to be, I know what to expect from that. Whereas Cyberpunk, I mean, I watched some reviews because they did like a review thing of Cyberpunk recently, and they said they played 5 hours, and they said they didn't even touch the surface of the game. It was just like, yeah, we didn't do it. We managed to get nothing done. We got the first story done and started to figure it out. But they were saying like the driving around is a lot like GTA. It's like a massive city of stuff, obviously different. But just the amount of stuff you can do, like even the people who talk about it, they said they had something like 10 different people play the game, and each of them have a different story. Each of them have like, I went off and did this thing, and I went this thing, and even like they were saying like the first mission, which is the mission that you've seen like on the demos and stuff, or one of the early missions, they were saying depending if you start like corporate or like nomad or like born on the streets for your backstory, you start the game in a completely different place, and like the story plays out in a different way, like the way you meet your partner and all this sort of shit, and how like why you get the missions and stuff like that is all completely different for each time you play it. And the decisions you make, and all your backstory and all that sort of shit as well. So yeah, it sounds pretty fucking epic. So, and I also think it's one of them games where I'm like, I'll wait. I've waited long enough already. I'll wait for it to come out, and hopefully it'll be finished by it's come out, because it's Project Red, so they're releasing a proper game. That's what I think. I'm like, they're releasing a full game. They're not releasing a Ubisoft half game. They release a full game.
It's not going to be like Yeah, it's not going to be like a DLC fest for a year.
It's not going to be like, this is like an early access thing, and actually you need to do this and download this 12 times, and once you've played it a bit, and you can buy this as a currency or whatever. It's going to be a full game in itself where everything's involved in the game, and then maybe eventually they'll release some DLC 5 years down the line. You know what I mean? So I'm happy for it. I'm happy to wait. I'll wait for as long as they need, as long as it's as good as it should be. It's taken 6 years. I'll wait another 3 months. Yeah. So. But it does look fucking brilliant. And loads of stuff they talked about in the original demo, they showed in some of these demos that I watched the other day, because there was like a few streams and stuff. And there's weird stuff in it as well. There's other random things where you can like you can take people's memories and break them down, and then like do an investigation, so you can find things in the scene of their memory that weren't like discovered and stuff. A bit like in like that scene in Blade Runner, when he like goes in the camera and he's like zooming around corners and watching stuff play forward and backwards and shit. It looks quite interesting. So I'm thinking once that's out, I'll be a happy bunny.
Yeah, well, we'll see if we ever get to it.
If the world doesn't burn down. It might be like in the future we're sat in like a little bunker somewhere with an old hooked up Xbox and a TV, and we can manage to play it then. But anyway, it'd be a nice way to spend the apocalypse. And if it's November, I could probably take a week off. So
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not 100% convinced everyone's going to go back to work permanently. I think you might go back and end up having to bit of rest again.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll have to figure out what to do if that is the case, but we shall see how the world plays out.
I just find it strange that they're talking about a second lockdown. Even the World Health Organization has said it's a fucking big mistake to like come out of lockdown now. No, and like just don't know how they would lift the lockdown to then have to like go back to it,
I'm not sure if they'll ever lift the lockdown. I'm not sure if it'll ever be lifted. I think this will be social distancing will be the norm. I think the threat of disease will be norm. I think everything will, like, pubs will never be crammed like they were. I think we'll look back in 10 years and be like, remember when they used to be like wall to wall? It was like standing room only, and you had to hold your jacket and your pint in your hand.
Like the smoking ban or something. Yeah.
Like the smoking ban. I think it'll be like that. I think everything will just be reduced. But I think that might also like less people and less crowds and less like chaos in the world might change the way it is. Like you've got to people got to be more prepared and more like, if you want to go see a show, you need to book in advance because there's only half as many tickets. You can't just be like, it'll change the way things are, or not. Or it might just be like a new wealth divide. If you're rich enough, you're safe, and if you're not, then you're not. But we won't know. We won't know until tomorrow, or the next day, or the next day, or sometime.
I just feel though, the longer this has gone on, more normal it's going to be.
Yep.
That's what I felt from the beginning.
Yeah, I think so.
Like I said, it's weird as well, like when it's like I knew at the beginning because they'd said, we'll talk about it in 3 weeks. I was like, that's definitely.
Oh yeah, I mean, we said it then. We said they couldn't tell you 3 months on day one. That would drive people insane. People would kill themselves on day one. So.
I mean, even back then, we'd heard them talking about September, even at certain points. So I reckon it could literally be like, not even until later in the year when they actually finally do lift it fully. Yep. But this is it. I've just given it. It's like I won't be going back to a pub or going out for a drink or going out in town or cinema or any of these things or going to a restaurant.
Cinemas are dead, mate. I don't think I'll ever go to a cinema again. I don't think. I would like to. I like cinemas. I like going to the cinema, but I don't think it'll be a thing in the future. Drive-ins might be.
I think for that, it's like it's got to the point where I think it's the worst possible timing for a cinema for this to happen, like because of streaming. Yeah. I think they're done.
Yeah, I mean they were always on the way out. It's like currency. It's like with credit cards and e-currency. Currency's on its way out. It's just a matter of time. It's just its dying breaths. Yeah. And I think it's the same with cinemas. It's just a matter of time before cinema isn't as valuable as streaming. I think people can make enough money, like Netflix and Amazon, make so much fucking money that they're just like, well, why bother making a $50 billion fucking movie when we can make it for half the price and put it on TV? Especially with CGI being so fucking awesome now, like Disney are making some amazing TV series. You're just like, they're as good as films, as good as some films I see.
Yeah, 100%.
I can't wait for the next Avengers when they're using all that cool fucking CGI stuff. It's gonna look mint.
Did you hear? Just quickly, you just made me think about it. Then, did you hear about the potential
director's cut of Star Wars. Yeah, the director's cut. They're getting Abrams, not Abrams. Yeah, Abrams. It's Abrams that started The Last Jedi. They're waiting to recut it, and they're going to re-release that cut, and then they're going to re-film and recut the Rise of Skywalker with some of the original story concepts that were played into, like, they were set up in, like, in Star Wars. They're making
I didn't know.
Yeah. No, I've been watching a lot of stuff about Star Wars, but I'm cancelling like that woman that fucking did it. But because J.J. Abrams dropped out, didn't he? Was it J.J. Abrams that dropped out of Last Jedi? He was the one that's yeah. Well, they were saying that he had ideas in that he'd set up in the whatever the fucking first one was called, and apparently they're going to recut it with the extra stuff they've got in it and make it like a 4-hour film, and then they're going to recut and reshoot some bits from the Rise of Skywalker to tie it back into the stories that they're going to make in the series, apparently, and possibly even have characters that they had in like previous ones and other characters that were supposed to be in it and so on. And they're just going to redo it all. That's what I've heard. Again, this is Corona. This was on the internet. It's on YouTube. If you just put like the future of Star Wars. It's loads of stuff like interviews with Abrams and like some, insiders and stuff, and some of it's like context, and they're trying to read into what people are saying and stuff. But apparently, they're looking to do it, and George Lucas is going to be involved in it, and it's just going to be like a recut of the last 3 films to make it tie into the stories more and tie into some prequel stuff that they're doing now, and then drive it into the future. And they talk about a new trilogy that's going to be like evolved from this thing and basically make it a new canon. So change this stuff that's happened at the moment is not canon, and then it's like it's wiped out. It's 2020, so it's just wiped out, and then they'll just recut it and re-release it.
Well, I didn't hear anything about a recut or anything like of the new films anyway. Like what I'd heard is that like they'd come up with an idea of how they could basically remove these films from canon, and like using like the Veil of the Force, which is something
from Legends or something,
reality or something. Yeah, and it's like come up with an idea anyway, like, but as how they could like sort of John Favreau, you could use it to like get rid of it. These films from canon anyway. Yeah, no, I didn't hear anything about the recutting the entire film.
Yeah, no, apparently it's come off the back of the the director's cut of Justice League, and there was another film that's getting recut as well. Another one like Justice League, I can't remember what it was, but yeah, apparently Star Wars, they're looking to do that. It's like the new thing. It's the new reboot is like a director's cut. It's a new reboot, or the remake. But that's what people are chatting about. Again, we won't know for 3 years or something. But yeah, apparently they're talking about recutting like a J.J. Abrams 4-hour Last Jedi, and then take it into like a completely basically remade, re-CGI'd Last Jedi. Not Last Jedi. Rise of Skywalker. I'd be up for that. I didn't really particularly enjoy the last 3, so there were some bits I thought were awesome, and other bits I was just like, garbage. So
I think they've lowered the creative price of Star Wars. It's like it's removed your ability to kind of care about it as much because they were shit.
Well, they stopped making it for the fans, didn't they? They started making it for the masses. And the thing with Star Wars is the fans have always driven it and built it to what it is, and now they made it for like like service and stuff.
Yeah, they just didn't do. It's like kind of though the end of Game of Thrones. It just makes the whole rest of the show just pointless because it's lost its creative weight, and its impact because the ending was shit. And it's like that's what the rest of Star Wars feels now. It's like this is the end of Game of Thrones, but it's the end of Star Wars, and it's just shit. So
I don't know. I mean, they're making the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Ewan McGregor's had a couple of interviews recently talking about that. They're making the new Mandalorian. They're making a Ahsoka Tano series, and they're making there's another one. They're making something else as well. They're all going to tie into this new universe that they're creating. I think they're just doing that. I think they've just realized that actually, if we make a series, we can, like, I don't know why it's taken them 50 years to do it, but they're like, we can make 10 hours of something rather than making a 2-hour thing that we try and fit in 10 hours of content into. But who knows?
The way I think as well with Star Wars, they've kind of think they've had to have a meeting and go, like, we've really fucked up here. Like, if we don't do something to fix it, we could basically have killed Star Wars, and we've got $1 billion, multi-billion-dollar franchise, which is pointless.
Plus, they realised that the kind of shared universe of the Marvel thing works so well that, like, we'll just do that with Star Wars. Just put it in that sort of thing and make it make all the different versions of Star Wars. It's like Star Wars is the perfect universe for it.
Because that's what's so annoying about, like, kind of the fact that, like, in this shared universe world, and what they did with the trilogy, the sequel trilogy now, it's like you had a fucking perfect, shared universe world ready to go, already created for you, that you could have just brought all these characters, Mace Windu, all these people, brought them back from the dead, do what you want. Whole fucking shared universe, you could have just hit the ground running with it better than DC ever could. For fuck's sake.
Oh yeah.
Who are the actors?
Yeah, well, that's it.
Annoying.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, something's going to happen. 10 years from now, we'll be talking about whatever the Star Wars thing is at the time.
Shit, they had the chance. Carrie Fisher's dead. Fucking Han Solo is not. He doesn't want to do it again. He ain't fucking. You're not paying him to come back.
Yeah, but if they manage to recut these films, because the thing is, the films had. The story was the letdown. The cinematics and like the visuals looked amazing, but the story didn't make sense, especially in Last Jedi, where you're like, what? Why did they go there just to come back here and do that thing? It makes no sense. But if they recut it and made it more sense, and George Lucas got involved and said, right, this is lore, that's made up, take that out, that's bullshit, take that out, this is real. Because he's got it seems he's got a very, especially when you hear Dave Filoni talk about it, it's very much like he's taken over George Lucas's role. It feels like he's kind of like the adjudicator for all these ideas. They seem to pass a lot of stuff to him because he did so well with the Clone Wars and he worked so closely with George Lucas. But like on that roundtable thing with him and Favreau, they were talking about a lot more like how they refer back to George Lucas for like, does this work in the world and this thing and blah blah blah. And like in that thing I was watching that Disney thing, they were talking about some of the stuff they used because George had done it, and they're like, oh, this was a homage to George doing this thing and that thing and blah blah blah. So who knows? I don't know.
Anyway, I think that's it.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to call it there. I need a piss and I need to sleep.
All right. Right, well, that's the end
of that. It's been fun.
Take it easy.
Have fun. Catch up soon.
As always.
I'll probably be working next week, but we'll find a time and we'll have a chat.
Work it out. Like I said, we'll have to kind of work out what we're doing with the times, but we'll make sure.
Yeah, we'll keep catching up until we can meet up in real life, which might be years from now. So we might as well keep in touch. It might literally, right?
All right, that was the end of it. As per usual, it just ends in the middle of a sentence, like we've been sniped or blown up by a nuke or something. Doesn't matter what we were saying. None of it matters. These are just the events that occurred in 2020 from our perspective. Thanks for listening. Bye.